Hey, what's up, nerds? Paul Conti here. We're doing a rare Paintisode. I've got Maroc and Daka Dez so far. A bunch more invites are floating out there in the ether. So I don't know. We're all just I don't know. Dez and I are prepping for the same tournament, basically also prepping the same army. So that's going to be interesting. And Maroc, the perennial staple of every Paintisode that has ever happened.
I don't know about every Paintisode that's ever happened, but quite a few of them.
I don't recall too many that you haven't been on.
That's fair, I guess. So you guys are just building stuff? Is that what's going on?
Building.
Yeah, I mean, I've got basically in the past week or so, I've had about 2,000, 2,500 points of Stormcast arrive at my door, and I've been working on building all of them.
Yeah.
So, if I just move this for a second, you can see the freaking madness on my table over here.
That is a lot of Stormcast.
Yeah, and that's not even all of it. There's stuff over there that you can't even see.
I noticed you're at your kitchen table.
But I built them.
Yeah, I have taken over the kitchen table for this one. It is just too much.
At least Dez is smart and all of his stuff is contained in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is I don't know. It's just so many models to construct. And I am immediately regretting the basing scheme that I'm going with, and it's just way too laborious to do all of it. And it's all I've done is glued cork onto bases so far. I haven't even gone through the trouble of starting to do a test model or anything, which I really should have done before I actually committed to this basing scheme.
You should have done what I did instead. Ice bases, and it's so easy. You take a cookie tray, you take plaster and pour it in a thin layer on the cookie tray, and then you just smash it with a hammer and glue all the pieces to the bases.
I like that.
Alternatively, you could just take some water and go outside.
There's that too. Yeah. But a more permanent version. One that's not going to melt.
That version would last for you 9 months out of the year. Let's be real here.
That is fair.
So you can actually do that basing pretty easily, Paul. I got my iron jaws are. I don't know if you can see, but all it is a little thin piece of cork. I broke it up with my hands, glued it down, went over it with this Vallejo stuff right here, dark earth.
Yeah, that stuff is the best.
Yep.
Yeah, the problem that I'm having is, so this is what my bases are looking like, and
that's the way to do it too. Yep.
Yeah, so the idea, after they're all painted up, is that I'm gonna try and have it look like the all of the Stormcast just rode lightning bolts down and shattered the earth underneath them and have scorch marks from the lightning bolt.
That's pretty sweet.
I think I'm stealing that. Then we'll have matching Stormcast armies. I like that idea.
About the doubles events.
I had one.
Did you?
Too. I went to a 40K one a couple weeks ago, and then we had a few months ago we had the doubles tournament.
Yeah,
AO got nerfed.
That's one thing that I'm totally jealous of. Living where there just isn't. The closest game store to me is an 8-hour drive away. So it's not viable to do.
I think it's funny. Sometimes I'm like, oh, do I want to drive half an hour to that game store? You're spoiled.
So I was curious. So I did a little research. I don't know if this comes up in like the Canadian history classes when you're in high school, but you remember that whole like 54-40 or fight thing? That like border dispute between the United States and Canada sometime in the 1800s?
Oh, you mean the one where we like kicked your ass and burned down the White House? That one?
No, I don't think it was specifically that one. And since when did Canada ever invade the United States?
One time.
Oh, that's right. That was when you were still suckling off the teat of the Queen.
Yeah. Whether we were suckling off her tit or not is besides the point. The real point here is that the only war Canada and the United States have ever fought against one another, Canada kicked your ass.
But the point that I would just like to make is I did a little research, and that 54-40 parallel I realized is actually south of where you live, Marak. So, like, you live so far north in the wastelands that even the most extremist opinions of Americans ever did not want that area.
No, you guys don't want nothing to do with whatever we got going on up here. It's like the coldest winter I've ever known is where we had like 3 weeks of like minus 65 like Celsius. Yeah.
That's pretty rough.
It was pretty cold.
Yeah, I can imagine. Has it snowed there yet this year?
No, but all the leaves are like falling off the trees already. Like they're already pretty much like gone. So we're just waiting now.
It's the calm before the storm.
Like, yep, your 2 months of summer are over. Like this, it's really weird too. Like normally the leaves don't even have a chance to fall off the trees. It just snows. So like we used to joke about having like we only had 2 seasons here. It was just like summer and then winter came immediately after.
Yeah.
Fall and spring just aren't a thing.
You just have like winter in July.
Yeah. It did kind of snow in May. So that kind of sucked.
Yeah, I would not be happy about it snowing in May. I'm like pissed off when it snows in February.
Wow. Like January and February are our coldest months.
Yeah, we occasionally get a storm in March, but it's usually like pretty well on its way to warming up by then. So what are you guys actually working on right now?
I'm putting together some prosecutors. Some
Very
javelin
nice.
prosecutors. I've been hemming and hawing about how I'm going to put them together all week.
Oh, whether or not you're going to remove the magic toilet paper or not?
No, I just how I'm going to put them together because I think I have 12 prosecutors, and one of them is from the actual sprue. You know what I mean? The box set.
Yeah,
it's a great box set. Like awesome.
Yeah.
Box set.
So just trying to. I mean, I haven't really figured out how I'm going to convert them specifically. Because I know I have to use those heavy weapons and stuff elsewhere.
That the blade and all that stuff looks really good if you put it on like your liberators or whatever, because the liberators have that like stupid blocky looking one, and theirs has like a bunch of runes going up the middle of it. It's really nice. It's my favorite greatsword GW's ever sculpted. So I have like 10 of them because all of my, well, more than that. Yeah, I think I've got like 25 of them. I couldn't quite find enough for all my paladins to have them because I wanted them just to have big swords instead of the weird glaive things.
That's a good call. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that would actually look super cool. I mean, that would be incredibly expensive to buy all those bits, but
it was like $3 a sword, so it wasn't like horrible, but
It's not
still
fair.
pretty bad.
yeah, and I would imagine not too many of those swords are actually moving, so you can probably find like some bit store that's got like 20 of them, so you can save on shipping. I keep dropping shit on the floor.
Well, at least you're in the kitchen and you don't have to like search for stuff in the carpet.
My
Yeah,
same gray as sprues. If I drop something, I'm usually in trouble. I'm usually shutting the lights off and using my phone to find shadows.
with a small comb.
Yep.
So I
am like so torn now. Like I've like cracked open a whole bunch of different Stormcast stuff from like different sources, like like the regular new inbox Paladins. I got a box of just to get like all of the bits out of that to use for making converting other things easier. I've got like the starter set stuff. I've got the start collecting box, which unbeknownst to me, like all of the stuff in the start collecting box, apart from the retributors that are in there, are like the full sprue versions like you would get if you bought them separately.
Yep.
They have like all the bits for everything.
Yep. That's why it pushed me over the edge to buy one the other day.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize it. I was like shopping around, buying bits. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to figure out something to do to get like a third trident because I could only find 2 in bits stores. And then I was like, wait, this start collecting box is actually gonna come with one. That's cool. I don't have to worry about this. And suddenly I have a whole lot of extra javelins. I guess maybe I need to buy more prosecutors. But like I'm in this weird place of being torn about it now because like what are they, like the easy to build models? Like I love putting those together. They are so much faster and easier to put together than like the normal multi-part kits. But I like actually being able to convert stuff and have like some modularity to the models I'm putting together. So I don't know, like I'm torn.
I find that the starter kit stuff is a lot harder to paint too. Like especially the retributors, because that big two-handed weapon is like attached to their body.
Yeah. That is definitely a problem.
Well, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna. I was gonna originally make a really like almost chaos themed Stormcast. Or I think I'm just gonna see how fast I can get a Stormcast army together instead.
I think the answer is extremely fast. In case you are really wondering about that.
That's one thing I did really like about the Stormcast stuff is that like you can take it up as high as you want, or you can keep it as like they're either really simple to paint, or you can make it as complicated as you want to. Like they're super flexible in that way.
I think that's what I'm going to have a little fun with. Is I'm going to, I'm going to airbrush the crap out of it. That's just how it's going to happen. I'll be mostly done at that point. But I think I'm going to have fun going through and doing like the blues and stuff. I don't know. I have some ideas. Maybe I'll put some lightning into some of the blue parts, or make it look like gems. I don't know. I'm going to have a little fun with that. Something I'll do it simple to start with, and I'll hopefully visit them again and make more complex paint jobs out of them.
Yeah, I know my paint scheme is just going to take forever, and I've pretty much resigned myself to that already. Because I'm going with like the quasi-Bretonian theme of like each one is going to have a unique paint job.
Yep.
And so that shit's going to take forever.
Yeah, especially when you've got like 30 liberators.
Like most of them aren't that bad because they don't have much armor on them that actually would have color. like, because they're just going to be like Retributor Gold with like whatever their color scheme is highlights, but like 30 Liberators, that's 24 shields to paint. That's a pain in the ass.
I've got, I'm working on my Chaos Lord right now. He's almost done. I'm working on his shoulder pads right now. But if you can, so he's got his wolfy head there. And as you can probably notice, this is another like hacking up of Archaon. So he's on a base that's way bigger than he should be, but that's on account of the whole like actually fitting him onto like a 32 mil round was just not a thing. So that didn't happen.
Oh, that's cool. It's fun to see how much chunk you can fit on a base too. But I don't know. It looks great just the way it is.
Yeah, the problem wasn't like fitting a bunch of crap onto the base. It was like his legs are like 32 millimeters apart. So like if you put him down on the base, it literally like tiptoes on the edges. And all the skin wolves are on 60 mil anyway, so I figured he'd just fit in on that. So I don't think anyone's going to argue about going on a bigger base. I could see someone arguing about a smaller one, but.
So you have a lot of people to play against where you are? Or?
My group consists of like 4 people. We have a person that plays a whole lot of Slaanesh. My buddy has dwarves and iron jaws, and my wife who has she's got undead, and she's wanting to do Sylvaneth.
That's cool. That's good. At least have a group you can play with. Especially if your wife plays, you can almost play anytime you want, right?
Yeah, it's funny though. She plays, but she doesn't paint. So like, I've got like, if she starts Sylvaneth, that'll be a lot of stuff that I have to paint, like a lot.
I think you can spray most of that and dry brush it if you're desperate.
That's true. Like her, it was like really hard to put together and stuff because she wanted to do like an Alice in Wonderland themed like undead army. So I had to make up like her skeletons are actually card guard. So like, let's see, I'm doing here. So they're all like actually plasticard cut out, and then I had to like cut the legs and stuff so that they would fit in the back.
That's kind of awesome.
Yep.
So those, I was happy with how those came out, but they were a royal pain in the ass to build.
Yeah, that's cool. How many of those did you have to build for undead?
I had to build 40 of them, so like that was no fun at all. And after sitting there with like a pair of scissors trying to cut plasticard, your hand gets pretty sore.
Yep. Done it. Play orcs. Done it with rivets. Popping rivets all night while watching TV at the work. Yep.
Oh man. So I started using like a new glue, the Loctite gel control stuff.
Yeah.
And like, although in theory it is so much better than what I was using before, it has this problem where it sticks better to my fingers than it does to the models.
To be fair, that's like most glue.
Yeah, it's just such a pain. It is really getting irritating in this. After I run out of this glue, it maybe dropped because this is just not working for me at all.
This is what you need. You need to go to the portal and get this.
Oh, that's the stuff you were talking about that you can like brush on.
Yep. So it it actually creates a weld. So there's a little brush. It actually creates a weld between the two pieces of plastic. So if you're doing conversions and stuff like that, it's awesome because it'll melt the parts right together. You don't have to worry about pinning or anything like that.
Yeah, that's the stuff I was using before was like the tester's version of that.
Yeah, I always up. I have like 5 bottles of it right here. This stuff.
Oh no, not even that. I had like the stuff that you can pick up at like Michael's.
Oh, so like the stuff in like the aluminum tube.
That stuff.
Whoa, this stuff?
Yeah, that stuff.
I got more glue in here.
Yeah, that was terrible.
The good old orange.
Apart from the definite glue high that you get off of the fumes from that stuff. Because that stuff is toxic as hell.
I have lots of it too. I don't know what that. There's so much glue in this drawer. It's just trial and error glue.
It's like a party in a drawer.
Yeah. I have this stuff too. I don't like it very much, and it's super expensive. It's like $8 a bottle or so. I don't know. I never liked it. I felt like it would run out real fast.
I'm generally not a fan of anything that I've got to hold on to for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah. That's where the Loctite, like Paul's using right there, is pretty good. It's a gel. You hold it together for a couple seconds. You mess up, you pop it right open. Another one that's good I just started using is Gorilla Glue has a gel. Is that what you got? Yeah. That stuff's pretty good. Yeah, and you know what's funny is I bought another super expensive Home Depot glue. It's Loctite too. I don't know. Like everything fell apart afterwards, so I was kind of surprised.
My
yeah, you would think that like stuff that they're selling at a hardware store would be really like the high quality, top end, like will keep your stuff together forever kind of super glue, but it is definitely not durable enough for gaming.
No, it's kind of funny because like if something in the house breaks or whatever, I'll come out here and grab like my green stuff or the super glue and I'll use that to fix it, and it lasts like a million times longer than if you were to like go to the store and like figure out like what kind of glue you were supposed to use. Like we had a entire bathroom snap in half, and I just like filled the gap with green stuff.
Yeah, I definitely
like color matched it and then matte varnished it. So like nothing, it still hasn't chipped, and that was like a year ago.
Yeah, I definitely found out that like basically what green stuff is. Like I found some other like gray stuff, epoxy, that was basically the same stuff as green stuff, except it was like white and black. And I like used that to seal cracks on my pool this summer.
It's a plumber's putty, is what it is. Like,
yeah. It was fantastic. Like it cures underwater. Like
yeah,
pretty good.
You can't ask for much better than that.
Really can't.
I don't know where my stuff went. I have this other.
You're saying that you're working on you're going to use Hammer Strike.
Yeah, I'm going to do Hammer Strike. Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
I'm very tempted to run Hammer Strike. Like I've run the numbers on it, and if you can get the buffs to the right places, you can get around like 25 mortal wounds a turn out of a 5-man unit of Retributors.
And that's what I was thinking about. That's why I'm going to take 3 Relictors.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
And like plus weapon stacks.
Yep.
So like why not?
And if I don't need to bless weapons for whatever weird reason, or I don't need to lightning chariot anything anywhere, they can still heal or deal out mortal wounds. So for 8,
yeah, and it says specifically in the book, I don't know if you noticed this paragraph, that like the relictors can use their regular prayer plus the prayer from the spell book in the battle tome as well, so they can pray twice a turn.
Yeah,
I didn't read it that way.
Yeah, Lord Relictor, the best 80 points you will ever spend.
Oh my god, that made it even better.
Yeah,
that's nuts. So I've been using this for instead of liquid green stuff or anything like that. It's Squadron Products white putty, and it's just like that. It sounded like what you were talking about before.
yeah,
and it works. It works awesome. Sands right off afterwards.
yeah. So the other fun thing that I'm doing with this army, apart from like a completely asinine basing scheme, is that I'm head swapping all of the guys because I think the Stormcast heads look like crap. So like I bought a ton of Space Wolf heads.
Okay, and, go on.
Like, hold on. Check this dude out. Yeah, there he is. Doesn't that look like a whole lot more intimidating than
Wolfen heads? Yeah.
Yeah.
My Marauders for my army that I'm doing right now are all that exact same head, like the Wolfen heads, all my Marauders. And my Marauders are Blood Reavers, so they're Blood Reavers with the Wolfen.
Yeah, those will be some scary looking dudes.
Yeah, they're pretty fantastic. Those Wolfen so much stuff. Like I did a Chaos Sorcerer with it. I did a Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount with them. Like they're really diverse and they're the right scale for like a ton of different things. Like,
yeah. Well, what I realized is that although the Stormcast bodies look huge, they have the same scale heads as normal humans.
Yeah. I've been shaving Chaos helmets down to use. I'll show you real quick. Like the helmets like with the horns and stuff on them.
Yeah. You just like take the horns off.
I just shave the horns off and it looks pretty good. I've got a few. Yeah. Now I've dumped all my stuff into one place. I don't want all the lictors to look the same, so there's one with the head of a knight. And the standard from...
and you're using the other banner, the Empire banner too.
Yep.
That looks super cool.
Yeah, that looks fantastic, man.
I want it to be something different. So now I have one more to have to build and make look different. So here's the liquid stuff, Paul. It goes on... where the hell's the other part? Real easy. Just put a dab on. Try to find where I put the other part. I just put it together and it's already done.
Nice.
And it's nice, secure, goes fast.
So I just, in painting this model, discovered something that I actually really like the look of. And that is like taking, like you put down your Retributor Gold or armor or whatever, the base paint, and then you wash it with Druchii Violet. And it looks really good.
That's interesting.
Like the purple with the gold, I don't know, man. There's just something about it. It rings off really nice. Like, and I guess it's because it's a warm tone like the Reikland Flesh Shade, but it's got like darker tones to it and stuff. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because there's a lot of chaos bits on your Stormcast. So you should give that a thought just to use, like you said, you wanted to do something different, right?
Yep. Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. I was thinking about, like, you know, how I was going to layer washes and everything, and using purples is a good idea.
It plays off really nice against that warm gold color. So.
Yeah. Oh, so many head swaps that need to be done. This is going to be.
I was going to head swap the entire army too, and I was like, nah.
All right. I still have one more freaking Star Soul Mace that I need to convert, and I am like I did one conversion of it already, and it was a total pain in the ass, and I'm really not looking forward to doing any more of these. Like I just took the Grand Axes and like took 4 of them and jammed them together to make a mace.
Yep. That's what I was thinking of too. Good stuff.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, except it's a pain, and like with the cost of extra bits and all of that stuff, like the question that I'm kind of running into, and I need to do the math on it a little bit more, is like if you get the the bitsed out Stormcast from like the starter set and all of that, like those retributors, like add that cost on top of all of the extra bits that you need to like convert Star Soul Maces, convert other stuff on them.
All right,
like
I have a solution.
Does it end up actually being more expensive than just buying a box of Paladins?
I have a solution for you that is cheaper than any option that you could possibly come up with.
You're up to see what I'm thinking of.
This stuff right here. Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna take this instant mold stuff, right? And it's like $5 for a pack of it, right? You're gonna take this, you're gonna put it in some hot water. You're gonna take it out of the hot water, and you're gonna press in whatever bit it is you want to make a copy of. So you press it in there, and then you're probably going to have to do a 2-sided mold. So you're going to take like a pencil or like the end of a paintbrush, and you're going to put dots around it so that the mold lines up properly when you go to make the other side. So and then you heat up the other side, put it in, and then once and to have this stuff set like instantaneously, you just drop it in cold water and it'll set like right now. So you do that, you take the mold apart, you press in that cheap putty stuff you were just talking about that sets up underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Press that in there, put the mold together, wait for the stuff to set, pull it out, trim it, and then you've got your bit, and it didn't cost you fuck all.
Wow.
And they sell it at the portal.
So now you really don't have an excuse.
Yeah. You know, like I have this like awkward problem where I have like 3 or 4, like within a 45-minute drive of my house, I have like 4 or 5 game stores that sell this stuff.
I hate you so much right now.
But like the one that's closest to me, that's like also on my way home from work, has been slowly turning into total douchebags and has like nothing in stock ever, and I don't ever want to have anything to do with them. So
that does sound like a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. No, I have to actually like, drive 30 minutes out of my way to go buy stuff.
Oh no, 30 minutes. My closest Games Workshop store is 8 hours away. And you're bitching to me about a half hour.
And that's what it's like in New England. God damn, I have to drive 15 minutes. Forget it. Not worth it.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm not putting pants on for this shit.
There's only 5 Dunkin' Donuts on the way. Not doing it.
Oh man, like we have like a little game shop here, but like it is exactly that. Like it is tiny, and like nothing is ever kept in stock. He's got to order stuff in because like the store is so small, and it takes a while to get here. So like you end up just not going to the game store and like ordering your own stuff online because it actually shows up faster.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem I've been having too, is like like this, like most convenient shop for me is like, oh, we don't have something on the shelf. Yeah, that's great. If you're a member of the store, pay your $50 a year, you get 20% off on stuff that we have to order for you. Then you have to like wait 3 weeks for it to actually show up.
Isn't there like, yeah, but don't you get like, there's sites that'll do that 20% off and like deliver it right to your house. So like that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, just eBay will do that, you know?
Yeah. Although it won't do it if you're trying to get your hands on a war mammoth. So I've got a story. So I did get my hands on a Chaos War Mammoth. All right. So I saw it. It went up on eBay. Starting bid was 99 cents. I was like, oh my God, are we really starting at 99 cents? Like, I'm going to be able to get this thing for cheap, right? So like,
yeah, 99 cents starting bid is always a trap.
Mm-hmm. So we start, right? And there's like, I set myself at like, okay, if I was to order that thing from Forge World, like shipped to my door, it would be around $400, right? So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll set my limit as that, and I will not go over it. So we get down to like left. The bidding is up to like $250. I'm in the lead. I'm like, all right, this is pretty fantastic. This is going to be good. Last day comes around and someone else starts bidding on it. And I'm like, really? It's been sitting there for a week. No one's done anything. Like, what the hell's going on? So it reaches its $400. Well, it's about this point that I decide that the guy that's bidding against me is a complete asshole, and I'm not going to let him take this miniature.
How much did you happen to look at this account that was voting against you? Oh, you can't see which accounts.
Yeah, you're not able to. But so we continued to bid, and I ended up winning it, but like the final bid for it was like $600 and something, which in Canadian dollars is like, I think it came out to like 702. So my initial,
like American dollars, not your fake Canadian dollars originally. Got it.
That's correct. It was not in Monopoly money. That is right. So it's a little bit over budget. My initial like 400 American or whatever, I was like a touch over budget, but like luckily for me, I was smart enough ahead of time to like squirrel money away in case like one showed up. So I was actually able to be like, you know what? No, it's mine. Piss off. You're not taking this from me. So yeah, apparently it'll be here on like the 10th. So I'm kind of excited.
I'd be excited too. That's out of print and very expensive from the sound of it.
Yeah, hopefully it was worth it. We had like, I used like the giant pie plate or whatever to test it out, and that thing is ridiculous on the table. Like, it pumps out mortal wounds like you would not believe.
I love it.
How many points is that thing?
320 for 22 wounds, a 5-up save. At full wounds, it has 4 attacks with its goring tusks that hit on 4s and wound on 3, or hit on 4s, and for every 4-up that you get, it does D3 mortal wounds.
Oh my God.
And then it's got like 2d6 stomp attacks right off the hop. And then like on top of all that, so I kind of built a bravery bomb list without building a bravery bomb list, because skinwolves are at -1 to the bravery of all units that are around it. And then when a Chaos War Mammoth charges a unit, that unit is at -2 bravery. So like, plus it's dishing out all the mortal wounds. And then if like something hits, if it takes any damage in the close combat phase, everything at the end of the combat phase, everything within 6 inches of it on a 5-up takes D6 mortal wounds as it like goes crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. What's going on, James?
Hey, not much, guys. Didn't want to interrupt your deep thoughts there, Merrick.
It wasn't deep thoughts. I was just talking about how ridiculous the War Mammoth is.
I get you.
Oh man. So yeah, this is like the Stormcast build session, I think.
Stormcast party.
Yeah.
Not for me.
You're working on Stormcast
on,
too, right, James?
Nope.
Like, not component, but like theoretically you are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I have the models, but right now I'd rather be painting on this beauty, which is one of those rampaging heroes, the toughest girls, female knights from their new Kickstarter. That I'm painting up as a Blood Knight. So.
Yeah, those models are cool.
They are. I have to give a thank you to Tom Lyon for getting me the 6 that I have.
Nice.
Tom decided he was never going to paint them and gave them to you.
Yeah, he sold them to me. Yep. Which I'm grateful for because they are taking forever to put them up in their store. Like, their models are beautiful, but if you follow them on Facebook, they're always like, we're about to put these guys in our store. We're about to put these guys in our store, like on 10 different models. And then it's just like, okay, got pushed back. It got pushed back. It got pushed back. I'm like, I get you. Like, production takes longer, but stop teasing me.
It's like, yeah, a lot of things have that problem. Like the Tabletop Miniature Solutions just did their vampire counts like army thing, and they were supposed to ship out last month. We're still waiting. We haven't even seen all the sculpts yet. It's just been concept art.
Yeah, Kickstarter's trouble. I'm always tempted by something on Kickstarter. I just spent the difference between what you wanted to spend and what you did spend on your War Mammoth on the Game of Thrones Kickstarter.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, and I was thinking about it to myself, like as I was about to do my pledge, and it was kind of like, do I want to spend this much money just to get a dire wolf miniature?
I did.
I know that, like, I'm not complaining. I want to preface this by saying, I don't want anyone to misunderstand. I'm not complaining about the GHB 2017. Like, I'm past any point of being frustrated about anything in it. I just accept it. I'm moving on. But I am a little bit disappointed because I was literally ready to pounce on a couple of Mantic sets that had come out, like some of their mega bundles, to use some of their like werewolves and stuff as alternates to the ghouls, because I hate the GW ghouls, and I wanted to use like their werewolves as like crypt horrors and stuff. And so I'd found this retailer that was selling their mega set with like 100 some odd models in it for like 40% of the original retail value. And then the week after that's whenever GW dropped the new GHB. I was like, well, Grand Alliance Death Army is not really viable anymore, so it'll be a while before I actually purchase those.
There's, if you wanted to go like straight werewolves, like for your, like not just your crypt horrors, but like your actual ghouls too. There's a company called Bronze Age Miniatures, and they do like,
I've looked at them.
Yeah, my entire Stormcast army is their werewolves.
Yeah, I think it was actually you who put me onto them before, because you had talked about doing your Stormcast stuff like that, and I think I had checked them out because of that.
They're probably the best 28 millimeter werewolves on the market right now, like that are actually man-sized.
Yeah, I believe it. Their stuff's pretty good.
Yeah. The only downside is that they're in metal, so like converting them is just a royal pain in the ass.
But yeah.
Dremel.
But naturally, I'm sure you have a solution for that.
Yep, it's called wire cutters. And power tools. If you have more questions, just go watch my metal models don't be a bitch video.
Do you have a do you use a Dremel at all, or?
Yeah, I've got a Dremel tool. I've used an actual like power drill tool. And
I had a Dremel until about a month ago, and it just died on me. I think I was using it too much.
Yeah.
When I was making that video, me and my buddy were like spitballing ideas about like what I should do for it, and we came up with one like after I posted the video, and it's where like I was talking about super glue or whatever. We were actually building the studio, and we had like a massive bucket of like industrial adhesive for doing the flooring. We were like, we should have used that instead of the super glue thing and just put like a big bucket of fucking industrial adhesive on the table for putting your metal miniatures together.
That'd be pretty good.
I miss metal sometimes. I thought I would.
Yeah, I've got a few, but mostly just models I'm not really interested in converting, like old hero models that I really like Vlad von Karstein and stuff like that. That I know I want it as it is.
Yep.
Yeah. The one thing I really like about my Stormcast being for the most part like all metal is that it's like you feel it when you're moving it across a table, right? Like it's not a movement tray or anything, but they've got heft to them, right?
Yep. Yep. Coming from the Lord of the Rings strategy battle games, Age of Sigmar, I'm used to that kind of like metal heft. Like all the elite troops for most of my armies were metal. All my heroes were metal. And also coming to this where everything is lightweight, I do miss that kind of like this unit feels heavy and is a significant role on the battlefield.
Yeah. Like when I've got like all my Temple Guard for my Seraphon army are metal, and like I kind of miss pushing them across the table on a movement tray because it was like 40 dudes and they were all metal. So like the movement tray weighed more than like everything else.
Yeah.
I gotta grab something real quick. I'll be right back.
Yep.
I had Savage Orcs like that, all metal. Like that. And all the heroes are metal. I don't miss dropping them and watching them shatter. I don't miss that.
Yeah, that was a downside. That was one of the nice things about like plastic models. Like once, like my second army I ever did was Wood Elves, and like going from my Lizardmen army to the Wood Elf army, and like I've literally dropped like an entire movement tray full of Glade Guard on the floor, and like they've been absolutely fine.
Yeah, meanwhile, I dropped my Empire General on Griffin on the floor of my garage, and like it has irreparable damage.
Yep.
Oh, sucks. Well,
that's the same story Paul's told me about 12 times now.
Yeah. Paul, it's not irreparable. You didn't melt it with a blowtorch. You can fix it.
Yeah, the melting with a blowtorch, that is my steam tank. But that was on purpose.
Wait, you actually did that?
Actually, it was with like lighter candles, not a blowtorch. But yes, I did actually do that.
Battle damage.
For
yeah, to make it look like it had heavy battle damage.
To make it look more like it is on the table, just a big pile of slag.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole shtick of the steam tanks is supposed to be that they're like, you know, there's like 5 of them left, and they're all like held together with spit and band-aids because nobody knows how to build new ones anymore.
Popsicle sticks and chewing gum. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it being scary, like playing against it. I don't remember exactly why anymore.
Exactly. Like like in 8th edition, they were just like bricks that you could never get off the battlefield.
Yeah.
Weren't they like toughness 8 or something stupid?
Yeah, they had like ridiculously high toughness, 1-up armor, and like 10 wounds, which in 8th edition terms was like 1,000,000.
Yep.
So they were just never going anywhere.
I vaguely recall the only answer to it being the Hell Pit Abomination.
Oh, my solution was
Ignore it.
well, I was playing Wood Elves, so my solution was Dwellers Below and just gone because its initiative was 1.
God, I hated that magic phase. I think that's what killed it. Dwellers, and what was the other one that was out of control?
It was the Dark Elf one, I think.
Purple.
Pit of
Purple
Shades,
Sun.
was it? That that's the one.
Purple People Eater.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember Ant doing his crazy videos with his demon prince where he'd just like fly it up the board to like one of the flanks and just like purple sun their entire, like from one flank to another.
Yep. Remember being on the receiving end of that a few times and just being not impressed. Huh.
Yeah, you know, I managed to get through 8th edition without ever getting purple sunned.
Yep.
That's what the spell scrolls are for.
Yep. Oh, that and playing against opponents, they just like never took that lore. For whatever reason.
Because they weren't a bunch of dicks.
That is true.
Tournaments.
I don't know. There were a few lores in 8th edition that were just like so mean. Like against the right army, which was like, you know, most good armies, like Lore of Metals, like signature spell, like it just nuked so many armies.
Yeah, the armies with high armor save generally didn't like that lore.
Warriors of Chaos, which was what my first army.
Yeah, like one of my buddies played Bretonia. We were like, you know, setting up armies. And I'm like, okay, and here's my level 4 Lore of Metal Wizard. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to concede now. Like, and he wasn't joking either. He's like, I just refuse to play this game. It is not going to be fun. I'm going to lose.
I assume the better the armor, the more effective that was.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, all of Bretonia is, like, on a 2-up save. So it was doing mortal wounds to things, like, on a 2-up.
Oh, wow.
Or whatever the 8th edition equivalent of mortal wounds was.
No armor save ones.
Yeah.
That's literally what it was called. Causes a wound, no armor save.
I think that's, you know, one of the things I was playing warrior heavy Warriors of Chaos Zinch with swords and boards, and both spells were around. It was not good for my army at all. Switched over to Steven.
I think that's one thing GW has done well in kind of like remaking both Age of Sigmar, War Fantasy and 40K is really eliminate some of those super hard counters where if you just showed up to the game, you're like, okay, I'm not even going to play because there's no point. Like, I remember I didn't play Fantasy much. I tried it out a couple of times, and I tried out their Lord of the Rings equivalent that they were trying to push. I honestly just didn't play it because the local group for it were just some of the most hyper negative just jerks that I've ever met in my life. But anyways, in 40K, I remember there was a guy who played orcs nearby, and a friend of mine, and we played dozens of times, and he almost always brought like massive swarms of guys. And I'd gone away to college and hadn't played him in a few years, and I came back and I brought my new army, and I told him beforehand, yeah, I'm playing Imperial Guard in the AdMech, and he's like, okay. And then so I built my army thinking he's doing the same thing he's been doing for the 7 years that we played together. And I come up with all this anti-infantry stuff, and he literally brings a 100% tank army. And I had like 2 guys that could even hurt anything. And I was like, okay, like, what's the point? Like, I literally have 2 models that can hurt any of your stuff. All your stuff can heal, can repair. Like, you have hard countered me so hard that we're talking like astronomical odds of me even killing anything, not let alone winning the game. And I don't feel like Age of Sigmar quite has that same level of imbalance in terms of like a hard counter.
Yeah, there's not nearly as many things that you just drop on the table and you're like, yep, I win.
Yeah.
I feel like there's one, and I feel like that's if you're playing like a Bloodletter bomb list against a Free Guild list. I feel like that is like a harsh counter to the Bloodletter bomb. Like, I'm going to throw this unit of 30 Bloodletters at your line of Free Guild Guard that are just standing there. All of your handgunners are going to shoot at me at once.
Yeah, like, you will not get to mortal wound me. All of your Bloodletters will be dead.
Yes, like, that is a hard counter.
I watched a bat rep last night where a Stormcast army did that to hordes of Bloodletters. I think the person had like 80 Bloodletters. 70 maybe. It was a lot.
Yeah,
Bloodletters, like, they're good, but like you can kill them. Like, it can happen.
Yeah, I feel like that list is just way too rock, paper, scissors. Like,
yeah.
Like, there's
I
some
think that's
lists
what people,
that it will just absolutely annihilate, and there's others that it will bounce off of.
I think that's what people like about it, though. Like, because you see it like in battle reports everywhere, and it's like I honestly think that's what people like about it. Is like, yeah, there's some games where it's going to be a no contest where you just mortal wound everything off the board. But there's going to be a couple of games in there where you don't know what the hell you're going to do because they've got your number.
Yep. Yeah, I'm still really curious to see where Free Guild actually are going to shake out in the new metagame. I'm really, like, I still haven't had a chance to play them since GHB 2017 came out.
I haven't played a single game. We used to play games all the time.
Yeah. That's a whole other conversation about how that play group kind of seems to have disintegrated a little bit.
Yep. I haven't gotten to play Death at all yet in 2017. I've only played Stormcast because until the second unit of Blood Knights arrived, I didn't have a legal Soulblight army for a 2,000-point game.
Mm.
There's no way I was going to pay $100 for the GW models that I hate so much.
Game Zone does a nice like vampire.
Yeah. I had my eyes on them, but then I looked at them side by side compared to the GW one. And even though I don't have the GW Blood Knights, I have GW Chaos Knights that I converted up into Blood Knights.
Yep.
And so they're just so much smaller than those that I didn't really want to have them.
I've got a set of them. Tinier, but once you get them like all put together and stuff, like the amount of detail that's in those models is ridiculous. Like, I think it makes up for it.
Yeah. And to be honest, I did really, really, really want these chicks from Raging Heroes because with having Lady Sinessa as my leader, I did want like a female bodyguard unit as like her honor guard.
I like that theme.
Yeah. I was showing the guys like earlier, my wife wanted what do you call it?
Alice
Like
in
a
Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland themed undead army.
Uh,
So I had to do 40 of these.
is that like playing card?
Yep, her skeleton card guard.
That's pretty cool.
And the
This
red
new, is it Firestorm? I can't remember the name that they're releasing.
Yep.
Yeah, the new allegiance that you can get for death actually turns out really good for me because I converted up 10 what were going to be Graveguard that I've literally never used from the Dark Elf Corsair kit. So they're basically Corsairs with like skeleton bits, like heads and stuff instead. I'm like, well, you know, this is very piratey, this new allegiance ability and all. So I'm already like halfway there with that.
Yeah.
I was talking to Paul. I haven't decided yet. I want to make a Coven Throne that's thematically fitting that, and so I'm trying to decide between a Caradron Overlord ship as a base and kind of combining that with like a Mortis Engine Coven Throne set, or maybe taking the Dark Eldar Reaper and doing the same thing and kind of meshing the two together into some kind of undead pirate ship. The
I
field
saw
does the
one
Coven Throne of
today
Mortis.
from a Caradron ship that was insane.
Yeah. I've seen some people working on them, and they look really good. It's just a lot of cutting and fixing.
This is my wife's Terrorgeist, or Jub Bird. So it's the Zinch Archon, what do you call it? Head from, or whatever the hell his name is.
Oh,
And then
Server Camp now?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
and
It's a
then
really good name, I can't remember.
her Red Queen is that 40K model.
Oh,
Yes.
cool. Yep.
Desperado. So
Yeah.
got like the long dress, and then I turned the base upside down and put a bunch of like skulls in there because the plan was to do like a clear resin like Lake of Blood thing going on.
I like it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, this bit's fun because it's actually like a flamingo head.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Neferata is a wonderful model to convert from. Like my centerpiece model, Lady Sinessa, has Neferata's head and torso as part of her base, and then I've got the legs from one of the vampire chicks, not the queen, but the handmaidens on the Coven Throne, and then some of the arm bits from them and various other ones, and like Manfred's like staff head, the kind of like curved sickle spear and all. And she ends up being like 6 or 7 different models put together, but Neferata is a beautiful base to start with.
Oh yeah, her like torso, like that corset piece that she has is amazing.
And really her headpiece. I love the headpiece.
Yeah.
There's so much detail there. It does make me wonder, because eventually I'd like to actually have Neferata if I need to convert her up so that she doesn't look the same as this unique character that I've created.
Yeah, I've definitely not like, I've only had one model ever that I've actually like really named and personalized. And that was really because he was terrible, not because he was good.
Right.
A general disappointment.
Yes.
Man, I've got like a whole codex I've been working on. Like I've created backstory for my faction. All of my different heroes that I've made are unique ones that I have like background for. And I found like art online that actually resembled the converted models that I'd created. So I've got those in there. Like I'm going old school, like
I love it.
codex here.
Nice.
Yeah. The only character I've created was Batrock, and I actually did like a war scroll for him where he could like look. So like if he was within 10 inches of a piece of terrain, he could like swing 12 inches like anywhere, like make a 12-inch. He could fly, and he had the chameleon skink ability where if he was like if he was close to a piece of terrain, he could just disappear and show up next to another piece of terrain.
Yeah. He would be the perfect one to use in Silver Tower.
Yeah.
Be like, I don't need a team.
It seems like there's a lot of scrolls in Silver Tower where it's like, yeah, I really don't need any support. I'm just going to go solo through this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there were quite a few. I assume, Eric, you saw the Lego Batman movie?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Then you could definitely go like themed Batman. You know, I don't need anyone. I just work alone. That's what that whole movie was about. Yeah. But yeah, in Silver Tower, like I managed to get like the perfect storm, if you will, the perfect scenario for me. Like we had generated one of the rooms in like the 3rd level, and I had a necromancer dude as my character, and I got in a room where he was able to generate double experience for everything he killed. And it was like perfectly aligned with another room to like where I could just stare down into like 2 other rooms because the door was perfect. And I just sat there and like sniped every enemy that came for like 3 or 4 chambers straight and leveled him up like 3 times in a row and like stole all my party's kills. And yeah, that was one of the best parts of that game, was the ability to just be a dick if you wanted to.
Yeah. The Soul Grinder is friggin' ridiculous in that game.
Of course he is.
Wait, what?
Soul Grinder? Or not?
I didn't know it was in Silver Tower.
Yeah.
I
Well,
had
he
no
wasn't
idea.
in the base Silver Tower. He was in like, you know, he had auxiliary rules in the app.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, he was freaking ridiculous because he like hit and wounded on 2s or something stupid like that.
Yep. The game was definitely not balanced between the heroes.
Not at all. It was definitely like easy, medium, hard on the hero.
Especially
Like
if
you could definitely build a party like playing that game on hard mode.
Yeah. You just took the Night Venator as well, and he basically killed everything too. Fly around and shoot it.
Yeah, the group that I was playing with for a while, you know, one of our players, like she would always take the Night Venator and would just like sit in back, not do anything, and just shoot shit.
Yeah.
Never get touched. And if she did, oh, I still have a 4-up armor save. It was so dumb.
One of the best things was being a healer, because then you like the Sigmar priest that came in the set.
Yep.
And then like I would really just screw with my teammates, and I'd be like, they'd be wounding a guy like the Ogroid Thaumaturge, for example, and have him near death. I'd be like, if you kill him, I'm not going to heal you. I want that experience. And so I'd basically like force them to just give up their kills to me if they wanted to survive and continue on. It was a lot of fun.
I think like what I would want to see out of like a Silver Tower game is just to like forego all like the super powerful heroes and just take like, I don't know, I would want to see like a warrior priest and a witch hunter and like just skip priests and like that kind of stuff and then try and like make it through that way.
And have a pretty deep level up system. I would love that. Like definitely have some more like RPG-esque elements to it in that kind
even
of
if
way.
they just added in like a Mordheim chart where it was like a D6.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many heroes in that game. Like, if you took any Stormcast, it was just instant win, not even a challenge.
Except for the one that came in the set. He was kind of mediocre.
If you played him right, he was like just the craziest tank ever. He would just go in and soak up all of the enemy attacks for your whole party, never die, and everybody else would just kill things.
I think you got a bit luckier than me, or maybe y'all just brought more overpowered heroes in your units, because typically with the guys I would play with, we would run him, and then I'm not even joking, it was like in 3 straight maps, we would open up rooms and not get out of them quickly enough. So we'd end up with the Ogroid Thaumaturge and that Skaven Assassin and a bunch of Acolytes and Horrors like flooding into the room all at once, and we'd just get so bogged down that eventually he would die. And then the rest of us were just kind of screwed.
Yeah, did not run into that issue.
Hmm.
That was the character that my wife always played.
Oh yeah,
She just loved the idea of being able to play a game with violent interaction where she didn't ever actually get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like her jam. And it was pretty funny. But I'm at the point where like I haven't played Silver Tower now in so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I am genuinely thinking of throwing my set up on eBay.
I haven't played in a while either, but I'm definitely keeping mine because I don't know if Marek, I don't remember if I told you or if it ever came up in conversation, but first off, Paul, thank you very much for having this tonight, because this will be the last painting I get to do for a while. I go off to basic training on Monday, and for the Air Force, so I'm glad to get in some painting. So I'm definitely going to use Silver Tower to try to recruit some people to play Age of Sigmar if they don't already, because I do know from friends who are already in that, you know, Magic and 40K and Classic Fantasy and all are very big, depending on like just where you get based out. And I'm hoping to sway some people into Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
I know lots of people that game that were or are in the military, so it's good.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's I'm in Texas, and just west of Dallas, and I've got a friend who's based about an hour west of me, who plays Age of Sigmar. So if I get based out there, then hey, I've already got an ally for recruiting everybody else in.
That's pretty. That's that's an option I'm kind of looking at right now too, is joining up. It's they're talking about doing layoffs at my job and that, so
Yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah, the isn't doing too well at the moment. Nickel price is at the lowest it's been in like 60 years. So
Oh wow.
not looking good.
And on the upside, if you join the military, you might get out of that Arctic tundra hellhole.
or could get sent further north. Who knows?
You mean there's further north in
I
Canada?
was waiting for a slap too. I was like,
There is shit up there other than polar bears and ice?
Yes. There's this crazy place called the Yukon. Further north than I am too.
Well,
It's just for some strange reason it doesn't get as cold there as it does here.
I was going to make a joke about it, but I won't, since you're actually considering it. But I know another Canadian guy who would joke that, you know, the Canadian military, like the totality of it, is the same as it was back in World War II, which he always jokes that the Canadians sent to D-Day a dude in a shopping trolley with like a pot on his head and like a single round in his like gun, because that's all the Canadians had in the military.
It's
And
not
he said
only
it hasn't
all we
changed.
have, it's all we need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense, you know, because y'all can just tame the polar bears and like
That's
get
right.
them to fight.
Nothing more terrifying than polar bear calf.
I
I would say moose
want
calf
to
would
see an army
be
of that.
more terrifying would be the moose calf, but
Because I assume they're faster.
no, bears are way faster than moose, but moose
really?
are like
Bigger?
ridiculously tough.
Yeah, I knew they were super tough.
That's why Nurgle has all the moose horns, right?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Learn to not have butterfingers there, Paul.
What's
I
that?
can't help it.
I said you need to learn to not have butterfingers.
No, it's really not butterfingers. It's glue fingers.
No, Marok is right, Paul. It's because everything you eat is dipped in garlic butter. So it's like permanently in your hands. Part of being Italian.
Listen, I cannot help it if I need a nice buttery lubricant in my veins at all times.
Who, to be fair, like who doesn't love like garlic butter? Like,
Oh, it is incredible. I just hate it because so many things I would love to eat it on, I have to be careful with because I am gluten intolerant to a degree. So I don't get to enjoy Italian food as much as I used to.
no, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know, you really just need to learn to be more tolerant. That's what it is.
Well, you got to convince my stomach to do that.
Yeah, we a buddy of mine, his brother had that, and his father actually had it too. And like for the longest time, they were just like trying to like figure out like eat, like changing his diet and everything.
Yeah.
And then so he went through like 10 years of this, all right? Like, and like this is not like something that is like pleasant to have. Like you eat the wrong thing and you are like out of commission for like days at a time.
If your french fries are cooked in a fryer that something breaded went into, you are, yep. Both my sisters are highly gluten allergic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're absolutely screwed. So he went through this for like 10 years, okay? And then they were like, he went in for more testing because it was actually getting worse. And like they took blood and everything, and they actually found that he wasn't actually gluten intolerant. He had a parasite that was making just reject gluten. So like, and we were like, well, where the hell does that come from? And then we were all thinking to ourselves, you know, any time I've ever gone fishing with Chris, he's always just got a cup with him on the boat. And he's like, was just being an idiot and would like take the cup and dip it in the water and just drink it from the lake. I'll guarantee that's where that came from. So they gave him antibiotics, and after 10 years, first thing he wanted was like an entire apple pie. Like that's all he
Yeah. I'm pretty lucky mine's nowhere near that bad. Like I can normally get away with eating like a couple slices of pizza, but I have to like then wait several days before I eat anything significant like that again.
Yeah, my sisters, like I said, like if breaded chicken goes in the same fryer they get their french fries from, they're done.
No, I can't imagine that.
Sucks. I'm glad I don't have it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love me some breading. Like, I don't know. All the best things are bread and deep fried.
Yep, most of them are.
I want chicken tenders.
Yeah, I've got some nice fajita bowl right here next to me that I'll probably be munching on again in a minute. So, not breaded, but it's pretty good.
So, James, you have like a last meal before basic training planned?
That's basically what I have right next to me. Yeah, I love some good fajitas, and I know I'm going to be basically having a bunch of garbage once I'm in training.
So you know what are they going to tell you what you're going to do after you go through basic training?
I already know what I'm going to do. I'm doing avionics. I'll be doing like all the onboard like computers, like all the hardware stuff. So installing, troubleshooting, and all for like the different planes.
making money. That's what he's going to be doing.
Well, not while I'm in, because it's entirely based upon like your rank and all what you get paid. But
yeah, but I mean, once you get your training and you're like done, I mean, you can go fuck anywhere and do that, right?
Yeah, the main plane manufacturer, if you will, for the U.S., Lockheed Martin, their main plant, their main headquarters is in the town right next to me. And like my best friend growing up, his dad is one of the highest ups at the company. So whenever I am done, I'll just be like, hey, hire me. I've been doing this for a while.
Hey, you job me.
Yep.
I'm really not looking forward to like if layoffs from our job do come across, because like there's nowhere in the town that I'm in that pays as much as like what I'm doing right now.
Right.
And I would imagine if they lay off anybody, it's not like there's like slack jobs anywhere else, anywhere nearby.
No, like it's like going from like $36 an hour to like the next up job is like 18. So it's like literally like half.
Paul, what's the current exchange rate? That's like what, $5 American per hour?
Well, I would imagine like that kind of pay rate, even like I would imagine like things like housing have got to be very inexpensive up there too, right?
God, no.
Yeah, really?
Housing here where I am is like retarded. Like because of like how it is with like they're talking about closing the smelter and the refinery. Well, they're not talking about it. They're going to do it. So like it's gonna plummet like after that happens. But like houses here, like for the most part, are going for like 250 plus.
Holy cow.
But that's because there's a surplus of people and not enough houses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's like average around here.
Yeah, that's like
okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I mean, that's pretty average around here. But imagining that you're in the Arctic North, I just can't imagine there's that much draw fighting off wolves just to get to work every day. And so that price is pretty high.
Yeah, we have to drive 15 minutes to the nearest game store. It's awful.
I know, right?
terrible.
You guys, so
Like for Dunkin' Donuts in the morning.
Yep.
yeah, we have Tim Hortons.
And I've got I got to drive 15 minutes to the closest, but it's, do I really want to go to that one today, or do I want to go to any of the other 7 within like 35, 40 minutes of me? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's literally like 5 or 6 Dunkin' Donuts in my town.
Yep.
We have one Tim Hortons and a Robin's Donuts.
That's very saddening. Tim Hortons tried to expand to the U.S. and was very quickly sent back to Canada.
Well,
but at least they have donuts up there.
Coffee that tastes like burnt coffee. It's kind of like I don't know what the appeal. Like I get it. Like Canadian company, woohoo! Let's be patriotic and support Canadian companies. I'll support you when your product is good. Until then, you can fuck off.
Yeah. And don't they also have like Bible verses on their cups and shit?
Sometimes like around Christmas, but like that's, I guess.
So they're no Hobby Lobby.
No.
Or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A.
I was kind of hoping, Merrick, at the end of that little bit of a rant, you were going to throw in an A just for good measure.
They don't come on like every 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, one of my favorite, I listen to a lot of psychology and philosophy lectures just because I enjoy that crap. and my favorite is actually a Canadian named Jordan Peterson. And I always crack up because it's involuntary with him. Like he'll be talking, and every now and again he'll throw in an A, and it's a little bit quieter, but you can tell it's kind of a subconscious thing. And so I always crack up about it because it always makes me think back to our conversation.
Yeah, like you can always tell when he's getting casual in his conversation, or casual in his lecture, because it's like he suddenly starts dropping in a lot of A's.
Yep.
My wife is from England, and like when she first came up here, I introduced her to one of my friends, and literally at the end of every sentence that came out of his mouth, he said A. And my wife was looking at me like just giddy, like, oh my God, I'm in Canada. And like, I literally waited like for her to go to the bathroom and immediately punched him in the arm as hard as I could. I was like, dude, what the hell is the matter with you? He goes, what did I do? I'm like, you have literally said A at the end of every fucking sentence that has come out of your mouth for the last half an hour.
You would have known that it was deliberate if he'd said, what was all that about?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God.
Like, is that actually like a really common thing, or is that just like regional or a stereotype?
Okay, so like I don't think that I have like a particularly Canadian accent. I know that Canadian accents are a thing, but like the one that people are mostly thinking of is from Southern Ontario. Like that's how they sound. Like when you go there, it's like you walk down the street and you'll hear people talking, and it's like, yeah, pretty good weather we're having there today, eh? Like stuff like that. Like that is how they sound.
And Strange Brew pops immediately into my head. There we go.
Yeah. So like,
and that's also like the part of Canada that's closest to the United States that we have
exactly,
like interaction with.
Yeah.
So I can understand why you guys would think that. Like it doesn't bother me. Like it every now and then when I hear like another Canadian talk like that, like I'll cringe a little bit, but I think that's just because I'm more aware of it than most, I think. But yeah.
Oh, I understand. I mean, living in Texas, even though I'm in one of the most heavily populated parts of it, in the Dallas-Fort Worth mega city, every time I'm around some redneck that gets the real hard Southern drawl, I just want to punch him in the face and be like, please shut up. I'm really sick of you.
Ain't nobody want to hear you talk.
Yeah. If I did, they'd probably be like, more that boy.
Yeah.
So what part of England is your wife from?
She is from Birmingham.
Okay.
Milton Keynes is the actual town she's from.
Yeah.
Buckinghamshire, that's what it is. Buckinghamshire.
I was just wondering because the part of England that I can't stand the accent is like the far north. Like,
yeah.
It's I always describe it as steel wool to the eardrums.
Yeah. Like we've like a member of our community, Nick from what the hell is his channel called? I'm gonna feel like a right asshole now. I can't remember the name of his channel. But at the beginning of his video, when he says like Nick speaking and welcome to this video or whatever, every time he says that, like I instantly go back to like where we were in England. Like it was like his accent's really thick.
I always like making fun of people from the London area because they can't say the letter R. It sounds like an H. And I know that's where GW got the whole concept of the orc saying "wah" instead of "war," because no one around London can say an R. It sounds like an H.
That's pretty funny. So how many people are going to this tournament there, Paul?
I have no idea. I actually called to like pre-register, and like the people at the shop were like completely clueless as to how many people were already registered, and like if you had to prepay, like they had no clue of what was going on. Like clearly there's a TO that is not actually affiliated with the store running it.
Yeah, I talked to the TO. There's going to be at least 12.
That's decent.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's one of our better events in this general area in a while. So
we've only ever had one tournament here, and there was like 20 of us, I think.
Yeah, the tournament that goes on closest to me every 2 weeks is it averages about 20 to 25.
Every 2 weeks, there's a tournament there.
Yeah, and then every one of the 4 or 5 stores that are within like a half hour of me, they have weekly nights where they'll have like a free play night, and then on the other week, like every other week it's a free play night, and then the weeks that it's not that, they'll run some event. So like they'll have like a 2 or 3 month long, for example, like skirmish league or different version like that. There's a lot of it in the area, which is really nice. I'm gonna miss that.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. The community's really grown. Like whenever I first started playing Age of Sigmar, like 3 months after it came out, there wasn't that much. Like I think there was, that I was aware of, there's probably around 15 to 20 players locally. And now just in the Facebook group that I started for locally, we're at about 150.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like our area is like segmented. Like there's groups of players that are not that far apart from each other that don't interact with each other.
I don't like it.
We've really tried hard to bridge those gaps between like, oh, this is my favorite store, that's my favorite store. And we're even going so far as to have, like different parts of the state kind of reach out. So for example, like we're now in contact with like the groups down in San Antonio and in Austin, where we can have, maybe like twice a year, 3 biggest metropolitan areas have, kind of like combined tournaments and stuff like that. So
that's where to do it.
Pretty good organizers down here.
There's a Games Workshop store in West Hartford that like has an AOS scene there. Like those players just do not leave that store.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, like there's really only 2 stores locally that I consistently go to. There's like 2 others I do on rare occasions, maybe like 2 or 3 times a year. But I am pretty particular to 2 stores. But hey, if they put a big event together, I'll go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really want to go to like an event, just not just to like go and have a bunch of games with a bunch of people that I haven't played before, but just to see like if the list that I'm running currently is like actually any good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you end up like with too like inbred of a scene and you just can't really tell if what you're playing is good against the people you're playing against or if it's generally good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like my Skin Wolves haven't lost a game since I started playing them. And like I don't know if that's like because I'm only playing up against like 4 other people or if it's because they're actually good and just no one has caught on yet.
I kind of wish we could isolate the initial audio of that and just make it sound like Marok's like super, super sad. And he's like, I just want to go to an Age of Sigmar event. I just want to finally play a game. There's nobody else up here. But yeah, I get you. I like it. I like kind of comparing like the local meta versus like what's national or international. Because locally, we've been playing like horde based for a long time. Like, General's Handbook 2017 drops, and we're all cheering for the fact that we now get discounts for running these massive squads because we already were all doing that. Like if you brought a monster locally, you're basically just laughed off the table before the game even started because everyone's like, "Ha! I'm going to kill that in one turn," and then boom, they would. And it's like monsters were not playable here, and maybe new scenarios, maybe some changes and all will make that a little bit better. But I'm telling you, I haven't been to any event, whether it's just like a local game night or a larger local tournament. I haven't been to anything since General's Handbook 2 dropped in terms of other than like a few pickup games. But at any decent event in the General's Handbook 1, nobody brought monsters. Like if you brought a monster, it was dead by turn 2 guaranteed every game. And whoever had the bigger army, or if they were close enough in size and you just had the better synergies, the better attack or whatever that was just significantly better in one particular way, you were going to win. Like it was just horde on horde grind action in almost every game because that's all that could win. If you brought anything else, you were dead locally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like our local meta had like a lot of weird niche shit in it. Like people were just running weird things.
I'm sorry.
I mean, really, the way my local...
I just spilled the glue on my keyboard.
Oh God.
Shit.
This will be keyboard 3.
Oh boy.
I'm a little sloppy. Stuff it up.
I was gonna say, after playing in my local meta, for so long and seeing how monsters were just completely not viable, it made me like, I'm still in them, but I unfollowed every single Age of Sigmar group I'm part of on every social media because I got tired of seeing people, especially in the Death Grand Alliance stuff, being like, "What should I buy? What should I play?" And then people be like, "Run this," and I'm like, "Really? You want to get killed turn 1? Okay." Like, I don't know. I think that at least locally, a lot of people figured out the math, and this is why I still don't understand why people run like bigger monster units. Really, just mathematically, yeah, I understand like Battle Shock is not really a big thing with them, but just mathematically, they almost never point for point can put out what a horde of infantry can do or whatever.
Oh my God!
Unless you're running like. Like stupid Beast Claw Raiders.
Well, even with them, it's not like they're putting out equal damage. It's just that they can take so much, it just doesn't matter.
Well, not anymore.
Right. I'm talking GHB 1.
Yeah. Like that errata to how the Stonehorn damage reduction worked. Oh. Yeah. That hurt that army so badly.
Yeah,
when you already were going to a meta where like that strategy wasn't even going to work anyway.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like the new scenarios were like, hey, Beast Claw Raiders, here's a kick to the stomach, and while you're down, I'm going to kick you in the nuts a couple of times with this errata. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't those models also get a points increase?
Yeah.
Like Beast Claw went from being like up here to down here real fast.
Yeah, they're near the bottom. Yeah, which is a shame.
Yeah,
like, I'm not
saying feel bad for people that were running Beast Claw.
I'm not saying that they needed to be at the top. I'm just saying like it just sucks that they drop from meteorically. At least make them middle of the road.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I felt about what happened to KO as well. Like
no,
Paul, KO
no,
all.
No, we don't feel sorry for KO.
I mean, I feel like they went from being like tier 1 to not playable.
No, Paul, they were never tier 1. They were tier 0. They went from tier 0 to tier 105 out of like 50 armies. Yeah. But no, we don't feel sorry for tier 0 armies. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm
All right.
freaking
This is
melting.
probably where I
right in.
should pull out the instructions and figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing with this.
What are you building?
Prosecutors.
And you need instructions.
It's the like non easy to build prosecutors.
I
I
know.
don't
But
have like I don't know. I've never built these before.
come on, Paul. Use your maths, man.
Listen, I'm an accountant, not an engineer.
Yeah, I know. I'm messing with you.
And why did I become an accountant instead of an engineer? Because I don't actually like real math.
Well, I was going to say all you need to do is break out Excel, and you'll be able to figure out how to put this thing together.
I mean, Excel does solve all the problems of the world.
Yep.
Melted it. Can you see it?
You actually like melted your keyboard?
Yep. I have to get a new one.
Is it an Apple?
Yep. It's gonna
Okay.
be like $90.
I feel extra sorry for you now, then. Because if it wasn't an Apple, I'm like, it
for
sucks.
you as
But,
a result.
yeah. If it wasn't an Apple, I'd be like, well, it sucks, but you can get a new one for 15. Because it's an Apple, it's like, well, you need to go get another mortgage on your house.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's what you get for using Fisher Price technology.
Ouch.
I used to be a diehard PC user.
Yeah.
Recovered.
One too many blue screen crashes, so you recovered from that?
Yep. It seemed like all I was doing was fixing my computer most of the time.
Yep.
Yeah, now you can just have an error and throw it in the trash and get a new one.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate because at least I have been, because next door to me is my brother-in-law, and he's an electrician and he builds computers for fun and does programming for fun. So anytime I have a problem and it's like, hey, this is beyond my moderate computer skills, he's like, oh yeah, I'll just completely rebuild and reboot your computer from scratch, and boom, it's basically brand new. Yeah.
That's what I used to do. I used to love building my own machines, working on them. Did that for years and years and years, and just got sick.
What color, other than white, because I hate the powdered wig look, would you imagine a vampire chick's hair would be?
Black.
Her horse is black. I'm kind of hesitant to do that again.
How about blood red?
Okay, that works. That'd be pretty cool. Probably have to give her like some kind of green glow around her eyes to really play off of that, but it'll work out well.
I have returned.
Welcome back.
And there's much for
realize you left. Thought you were just being quiet over there.
No, I needed more coffee. So
More coffee?
that is what I said. Yes.
Wow. I've got to say, I am an avid coffee drinker. Coffee at 10:30 at night for you. That's impressive.
He's got to stay alive, Paul. He'll freeze to death without warmth in his blood.
I drink coffee like
24/7.
So it's there is no time limit for me on coffee. I'm not time prejudiced against it.
I get you.
I could drink a pot of coffee and go to bed.
That's what I was going to say. I used to drink so much caffeinated beverages. I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm turning into an old man. Like I can't do that anymore. I have to like cut myself off at 4 o'clock, or I won't be able to go to sleep.
Wow.
What do you mean turning? You already are.
Although I will admit I did get a nice dad nap in today.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was good.
Today was super busy for me. My oldest son's birthday is while I'm gone to basic, so we had his birthday party today. So I could be part of that. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I fell asleep on the couch for 2.5 hours while the kids were watching a movie. So that was
Sweet.
I look forward to being able to do that again because my youngest is just under a year and a half. So I can't ever fall asleep around him unless he's already out. He'll be into something.
Yep.
Yeah, my kids are definitely old enough where I can do that again. Old enough to tell on me when I do it too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, only downside.
Daddy just slept the whole time. You
Don't tell her that.
taking back my ice cream candy bars I gave you for breakfast. You want to do that?
Yeah.
Hey?
Last time.
Yet.
You wanted to see the original It, and you told on me. Can't imagine. I won't even let my kids watch Jaws. No, I remember watching Jaws. Not like the water now. I remember looking at Jaws when I was in public swimming pools.
I've never seen any of those Jaws. I mean,
I could watch like Friday the 13th or Halloween or anything that wouldn't bother me. Like freaking Jaws.
I get you.
Probably because it's a creature that's based in real life.
It is really hanging out at Cape Cod now, which I go to every summer. Very fun.
Yeah, that will when it hits home, like the reality of what you're watching, that it's a real thing, that's what it messes you up.
I don't know, man. Like I'm kind of amazed, Paul, that you can watch like zombie films because all we have to do is walk out our front door and it's basically nothing but zombies. But
Well,
all glued to their phones.
well, I mean, they don't even need them. They're just that level of stupid. But sure.
Especially when you live in the Soviet Socialist Republic of Connecticut.
I was gonna say, or just live close enough to a bunch of dumb rednecks that spend more time with cattle than they do with people, so they're used to just mooing.
Yeah, I have that like odd like bridge between those two worlds in my life because Connecticut
So you
is
have-
this like bastion.
You have
of,
socialist.
like,
You have socialist cow
ideology.
herders.
But at the same time, I grew up in a town that had more cows than people.
Summers?
Ellington.
Oh, Ellington, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it was this weird confluence of like half the town was like wacky lefties, and then like the next town over had like an active chapter of the KKK.
Yeah.
like not even joking. Like this was the reality that I lived in.
Oh
growing
yeah.
up.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like that kind of dichotomy, but the town I went to college in, the next town over, like the town I went to college in's population doubled literally whenever the college was in session. It went from like 12,000 to 24,000, and then the next town over was a population of about 1,000, and they had an active chapter, and they had a meeting place that was literally called the Coffee Cup Cafe with all K's. And to try to be a little bit more correct and to hide the fact a little bit, they removed the cafe from it. So there was just two. And I remember one time my hall leader had to go to a meeting and he had to pass through that town. And my hall leader was black. And I was like, dude, you're not going by yourself. And so two of us just drove with him just to make sure he stayed safe. But that's some creepy, crazy stuff that still goes on nowadays.
Yeah, I don't even understand how racism can still be a thing. Like,
too.
it really
I-
doesn't make.
I understand it only because of my theory on humanity as a whole. I take after Nietzsche, and I don't believe that humans are naturally rational creatures. I believe that the natural state of humanity is irrational, and what we call rationality or what we call intelligence is just our own ability to not act on irrational impulses. And so people who still act out these stupid age-old things like believing the world is flat, for example, just have no ability to control their own irrationality.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment.
Adopting that view has made my life so much easier. Like anytime I see people doing something stupid, I used to be like, how could you do that? And now I'm like, yep, that's part of the course, and move on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I have just.
But I'm right with you. Like, it's absurd.
You don't see it that much. Like here,
Yeah.
things are pretty good. Like we're kind of in our own little isolated bubble, so we don't really have to deal with like stuff like that on like a day-to-day basis or anything like that. But like when you do see things like that, it's kind of like, what in the literal fuck are you doing?
Yep. It probably doesn't hurt that most of those people are probably like inbred, like 25 generations deep. So
Yeah, like why is it that like the most hardcore white supremacists are usually like the absolute worst examples of specimens of the white race?
Like
Why, how does that happen?
like not just the white race. Like they're
Any
like
race.
the worst examples of people in like the history of anyone. Like it's fucking just retarded.
Yep. What I find fascinating too is like in America, for example, like if you look at like any of our sports, right? Like any of our major sports, almost all of them are like predominantly dominated by Black Americans. And I'm just like, you do realize that like you have basically created an artificial like evolution here, where like only the most physically strong could survive like the conditions of like racism and slavery in the past. And so I'm like, you basically created like super physical beings, and that's why we have all these like Black Americans that are so incredibly gifted in like athletics. And I'm like, I was just like laugh at people who like still all those ideals, because I'm like, all you're doing is literally making these people that you look at and you say you are the inferior people, and you're selectively through artificial processes only allowing the best of them to continue on to where they're as a whole like superior to what you're claiming they are, genetically speaking. Yeah. Self-defeating and idiotic.
I don't know. It's like it's dumb to me. Like people in general are stupid. Like
Yes. That's like every time, like
although we do
Paul contacts me
have,
almost
like,
every day just to talk, and I'm like, gosh, this idiot again.
way to go, James. I was just gonna say how great a community we have, and then you're like, man, this guy's a fucking moron.
No, I'm just kidding.
Like, listen, anybody that's read that my Facebook feed clearly would have to know that I'm a fucking moron.
No, I wouldn't really say that Paul's an idiot, but it's my nature. I can't spend too long talking about something heavy without having desire to lighten the mood.
Yeah.
So what are you guys like? You guys are going to this tournament, right? So you got this tournament coming up in a couple of weeks. So what are some things that you like hope to God you do not come across when you go? Like what is your least Least ideal opponent.
Least ideal, like for this list or just in general?
Like in general, just something you don't want to fucking see across the table.
2 people in an army.
I have to say, like, some of my least favorite games I've ever played are against Sylvaneth. Like, I feel like it's just not a fun army to play against.
Okay. Why?
Because they just eliminate your ability to move around the board effectively. They just gain board control through dropping wildwoods all over the place. And then they have abilities that debuff your ability to damage them. I don't know. It's just like a big wad of unfun sort of mechanics.
I think that's ironic because I at least want to see 3 people on the other side of the table because I just find them incredibly boring to play against. So I find it funny that 3 people would look at Sylvaneth and be like, all the things that we normally do, like they do to us, and so I don't like it.
Well, there is some truth to that.
They beat you at your own game, or at least they used to. I haven't played against free guilds. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, for like, if I was going to run a competitive free guild list for a tournament, I'd probably be running 2 units of 10 archers, and like so that I can vanguard them out at the beginning of the game to just zone off most of the battlefield and deny, the opponent's ability to, do things like drop wildwoods or deep strike anything. Just like completely deny that aspect of the game, because that's one of those things that just gives a lot of armies a huge advantage. And, for 200 points, I can just shut it off.
So, Paul, have you played any games since GHB 2017?
I have not had a chance to.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's not for not trying.
Right.
I blame Des.
Yep.
Completely your fault.
That's okay. I'd recommend, like, not to say that any of the scenarios are unfun. I've only played a couple, and I really want to try a few that I haven't. But the I forget the name of it, but the one with the 6 objectives that you can burn your opponent's 3.
Scorched Earth.
Yeah, is an absolute blast. That was the first game I played for 2017 edition, and I played with Stormcast, which I almost never play with. I think I've played 4 games now with Stormcast, and almost every other game I've ever played is with Death because I prefer just how they play. Far more enjoyable. But even with Stormcast, I was like, that was an absolute blast of a game. It was actually funny because I was playing Stormcast against Nighthaunt, and so we both had a lot of deep striking going on to the table, and that just made it even wackier and I think an even better game because of it.
I played that scenario with my Stormcast against Slaanesh army, and it was basically no contest because they so Seekers can basically move 30 inches across the board on turn 1.
Right.
And so basically what they did is they moved up 3 inches off my line, charged me, got a ridiculously high charge roll. And what they ended up doing is, because their bases are so thin, they charged in between my units and got behind me, attacked me in combat, and then at the end of the turn, raised all 3 of my objectives. All 3 of them. And rolled the D3 and got a 6. 3 6s. Boom.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Mine literally came down to the final turn. My opponent and I each had 1 objective left. I began the top of 1, burning his down. Bottom turn 1, he burnt 1 of mine down. Top of turn 2, I burned 1 of his down. Bottom of turn 2, he burns 1 of mine down. And then we fought and fought and fought and fought over the last 2. But I was able to prevent anyone from burning my last one down because I had a squad of 15 liberators holding it, and I literally put them in a ring around the objective to prevent any bases from getting within 5 inches of it. Not only 3, just to keep that. Eventually, he did win because he charged a Mourngul and a Coven Throne into that squad, and was able to finally peel off enough guys that his hex rates outnumbered my guys within 3 inches of it, because I'd moved them around. But yeah, I mean, literally placing a ring of guys around the objective is a really good way to counter a superior numbers opponent.
So I have this sort of theory going on that, and I'm waiting to actually see more results, but I think this whole hypothetical horde meta thing that people have been talking about ever since GHB 2017 dropped, I think is a hoax.
Yeah,
I don't think it's real.
I think it's the easy answer. Like, you know, whenever we had, before we even had GHB 1, right? Like, whenever we're talking about, we're in the age of man-made comp systems, and everyone's, you know, complaining about summoning. And I'm not going to say that summoning wasn't overpowered. It was. But just the way that people would just whine about anything that wasn't like a Tzeentch army that could have summoners summoning a summoner who could summon a summoner. Like, unless you're doing the chain summoning, I really never understood it, because I'm like, just bring something that flies. Bring something that deep strikes. Just dispel them. Like, there's answers. The easy answer is bitch about it. The harder answer is figure out what it does, what it doesn't do, and how to counter that. And the easy answer with GHB 2017 is, oh, it's a horde meta. Because these scenarios are like, if you have 20 guys in a squad, you override any number of your opponent's guys if they don't have a squad that's 20 or more. So the easy answer is, okay, bring a squad of 20. A little bit more subtle answer is, take your squads that are smaller than 20, because you play a faction that can't reach 20, and just block off the objective to where they can't get within range of it. Or something like that.
Or
there's an answer.
Or use the other logic of, you know who can't claim objectives? Dead miniatures. That's who can't.
Yeah,
That too.
that is that's kind of how I feel about it. Is like, I'm going to take whatever is going to be most effective at killing my opponent's crap, because, you know, I don't think that, I mean, if you're running 20-man squads and your objective is, you know, trumping at 20-man squads, guess what? I have to kill one model in your unit to eliminate that bonus.
Well, I mean, who's really going to run a 20-man squad unless that's their max? Like, people are going to be running 30, 40 plus when they can.
Yeah, and there's so many things that just, like, hard counter against that. It just doesn't seem like that's a good idea. And units that large, unless they fly, are really hard to move around the board.
I don't know. I've never had too much trouble. I mean, they're slow, but I've never had too much trouble even moving like my 40-man skeletons or my 60-man zombies. I mean, whenever you run them, they at least get a decent move, you know, average of about 7 or 8 inches per turn.
When you're just grabbing them and moving them in a pile along the board, it's not really that big a deal.
I've only done that one time with the zombies. With the skeletons, I actually have to be very precise, because with their spears and the combos I'm getting them up to 8 attacks each, and I do want all of them in combat at the same time.
You're a bad person. You shouldn't feel bad.
I don't feel bad, because when I was doing this, the rest of my army was so underpowered that why the heck did I care if I had one thing that could dish out 320 attacks in one round of combat? Yeah, I'd delete your one thing off the table, but so what? Nothing else of mine could scratch you.
Yep.
Until set skeletons moves in to attack that thing.
Right. But the question is, can they get there within the 5 rounds of the game, killing something every single turn along the way? Because a crafty opponent would just throw chaff at them once they killed something big and scary.
Isn't there like a spell that you can, yeah, but a craftier opponent would use a Vampire Lord on a bit to take that unit and just double their movement.
Oh, I thought you were
Or
going to say
could use
Neferata. Yeah, just fly them. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I tried to have other units like Blood Knights and stuff where I could run them ahead and kill said chaff if I needed to, because I didn't own a Abyssal Terror, and I very unfortunately built Arcane Black instead of Neferata when I first bought the Mortarch set. That was a mistake.
Neferata is kind of a steal.
She's by far the best Mortarch. It's not even close. And now that she's had her price reduced to 400, so she's a beautiful, easy ally choice at 2,000 points. Like GW is just kind of hint, even more. Hey, run this one. This is the good one.
Yeah, kind of like how the Celestial Hurricanum is conveniently at 380. Like, hint, hint, run this thing.
Hint, hint, never leave home without it.
Yeah. But with the allies, like, all it can actually go into is either a free guild force or a Stormcast force now.
Which
he can't ally with anything else.
Yeah, but those are like the two armies that benefit the most from having one.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. Seraphon, maybe. If you're running like a horde of Seraphon like Saurus warriors and you get the right combos, that +1 to hit to generate all the extra attacks that you can potentially do with them with the right commanders, it's pretty deadly.
Let's be honest though, nobody's running fucking hordes of Saurus warriors. Nobody. If you're running hordes of anything, you're running hordes of Saurus Guard, and if you're running hordes of Saurus warriors instead of Saurus Guard, you're doing it wrong.
Well, the games I played were against guys who were relatively new to the army, so they didn't yet have enough guard. So they were running warriors until they got them, and I underestimated what those warriors could do.
Yeah, they're good. Don't get me wrong, but like they are nothing in comparison to what like kind of shenanigans you can get going with the Saurus Guard. They're like,
are the Guard battle line now?
Yes, they are.
That's
if
awesome.
you're Seraphon Allegiance, yes, you can get them up to a 2-up rerollable armor save, and they're just dudes on foot walking around.
Yep. I actually just got rid of all of my Seraphon about a month ago.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, it was right before the GHB 2017 dropped, and actually right before it dropped, I said Seraphon are going to be the most improved army, and I
yep.
Yeah, and I said I think that when it all shakes out, and once the meta settles down a little bit, because of how versatile they are in terms of, hey, we can bring hordes of things, hey, we have teleporting things, hey, we have deep striking, hey, we have summoning, hey, we have good magic, hey, we have big monsters. Like, when everything settles down, I said they're going to be one of the best armies. Maybe they don't win every tournament, but they're always going to be near a top table. And I'm still standing by that. But I do think it was a good decision because I do want to eventually rebuy into them, and I traded them in to get some more death stuff and all. But I had bought right before they got the repack way back when, the battalion special box from 8th edition or whatever edition it came out from, the old fantasy one. So I had a bunch of like boring regular skinks and a bunch of Saurus warriors and some like old one knights, barely any Saurus like guard. I had one Carnosaur and one Stegodon and a Slan. And I just didn't enjoy playing these massive hordes of just like relatively underwhelming troops. I wanted more big dinosaurs, so whenever I do eventually rebuy them, I'm just going to be running like 4 or 5 Carnosaur lists with some Temple Guard thrown in. You just play Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I feel like I can't disagree with that.
What'd you say, Marek?
Bastillodons everywhere.
Yes, I definitely want some of those.
They're the real man's Morngul.
Yes. I agree with how the Morngul is now. The Morngul is a freaking joke, and it makes me regret that I bought one.
And you fit that bad?
I mean, he's not terrible. but he's terrible for his points.
Yeah, I think his point.
So he's terrible.
Down a bit.
Yeah.
Well,
Like his abilities are good. Like if you cut his points down, like if you just look at his stats, right, and you ignore his points, you're like, that's a decent model on the table. He does some stuff. He can kill some stuff. He has some nice debuffs that he gives to the opponent, things like that. He has layered saves. But then whenever you look at his points value, you're like, much like Nagash, he's nowhere near worth it, in my opinion.
What I think they should have done is like make all the changes that you want to him. I think it should have gone up to 12 wounds instead of being stuck at 10.
Yeah. I would have been okay with all the changes if they just dropped his point value too. Just say he was too powerful. We'll nerf him and we'll scale back his points a little bit. I'm not saying you have to do a huge drop, maybe like 40 to 60 points. And then I'd be like, okay, that's playable.
Like I would have been fine with him being at 380, like because he's 400, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even at 380, I'd struggle to bring him with the 5 major debuffs he's received.
Well, I guess I don't know. I don't understand how they justify like the Morgul being 400 points and the Chaos War Mammoth only being 320.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get it because it's like, I mean, I would kind of get it if they tried to make the argument of faction strengths and weaknesses, and so you have to pay a little bit more for something that, you know, gets rid of a weakness or does something well that the faction's ordinarily weak against. But I would say, what is he good at that the faction is normally not good at?
Well, I mean, if just looking at the wounds, like the Chaos War Mammoth has 22 wounds.
Yeah.
But doesn't it have like a 5-up save?
Yeah, but I mean, you get a War Shrine behind it. You can put Mystic Shield on it, like. So you gotta go to a 4-up save with a 6-up ward, like. And you can, and if you buff it with the War Shrine, it gets to reroll save rolls of 1, all of them. So that includes your ward save.
I don't know. My working theory in general about, you know, pretty much everything at this point is if it's a unit that you intend to get into combat, in close combat, and it has a 5-up save, it's not good.
Skinwolves have a 5-up save.
Yep. And
thrown down.
Like it would have to be something
that they're
like it would have to be something where they really had some other thing going on, like they were able to always go first in combat or something like that. Like, well, I mean, that's part of the reason that I don't like the Bloodletter Bomb is because it's just a glass cannon. Like if it, you know, if you just like fluff your rolls, that list fails.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, like
90 of them.
Yeah. Like I think the thing with Bloodletters is that they've got the bodies though. Like, so like Skin Wolves have a 5-up save, which is like not very good. I'll give them that. But they've got 4 wounds apiece. So like for 120 points, you're getting 3 of them. So that's 12 wounds with a 5-up save. And if you're running Skin Wolves, you're going to take a War Shrine because it's the only thing that can really buff them that isn't like 160 point Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot or on steed or whatever. But I think that based on like what their points are at, like for 120 points, so it's 240 for a unit of 6. And like they might be a glass cannon, but what a glass cannon. Like, and it's the same deal with Bloodletters. Like them getting the horde discount for taking like extra dudes is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually raises another interesting question. Do you guys think that was like an oversight?
No.
Yeah.
I think that was something else that they put in to balance other things that went in that became like a super hard counter. So like for instance, like we were talking about earlier with the Free Guild being able to like shoot at units that come in as soon as they come into combat and charge and all that kind of other crazy stuff.
Doesn't even have to
Like,
be the unit that charged.
Yeah, so like allowing a discount for taking bigger units of these sort of glass cannon units makes up for it a little bit because you've got those extra wounds, right?
I don't think it's a oversight, Paul, either. Like I think those are good points, Maroc, but I think you're coming at this too intelligently, to be honest. I don't think, like, from a game balancing perspective, GW is that good. I think, honestly, the reason that it's there is they said, hey, we have 4 different Chaos Gods. They all have their unique demon unit. We're all going to make them cost basically the same. They're all going to have the same discounts at roughly the same places because they're uniform. And that's what they did.
Yeah, I can see that too.
That's
I would have rather it have actually been what Maroc said, but I don't have that much faith in their game design team.
Yeah, I mean, I really do not have a lot of faith in GW's ability to actually write good rules. Like, I think
Or balancing.
Yeah, or balance. I think it's anything good that comes out of anything, I feel like, is by accident more than by design.
I feel like they're really good at designing rules that are fun, right? Like I think Age of Sigmar and the new edition of 40K and just how much fun people have playing them in a more casual sense, they're very good at that. I think once you start going towards, like, let's actually see if we can break the system, so to speak, by taking, like, this is the best, this is imbalanced, things like that, that's where they really break down. They're not good at writing competitive rule sets.
Yeah, I would agree. Because I honestly, like, I started building a Stormcast force before I knew how good they actually were. I just knew kind of from conjecture and them winning a lot of major events and being at top tables at a lot of major events that, you know, Stormcast were a good force. And then I started actually reading the book, and I'm like, wait, does it really work this way? Like, it seems like they just either like completely missed rules interactions, or they just like didn't care, or intentionally made their hallmark like poster boy force really good.
Well, the problem, Paul, is that their rules team doesn't communicate enough. And we've seen this for a long time. Like, I don't know how it was in fantasy. Like, I'd assume it followed a similar pattern. But in 40K, every time we had a new edition update, and then we had, like, new versions of an army come out, you always knew beforehand that there were a handful of armies, 2 or 3 of them typically, that every single time were going to be top tier, best of everyone as soon as they came out, because you just knew that the game designers who consistently made those armies were that kind of designer. They're like, I love this army. I love their feel. I want to make them better than everybody else.
Very nice.
And I'm not gonna really collaborate with everybody else. It was always Eldar and Tau. Those were 2 of the game designers that were notorious for writing rules that just broke the game. And other game designers were like, you know what? This army's the new hotness for a little while. Let's make them better than they were, stuff like that. But those 2 writers were notorious for that. And I'm sure used to some degree today with certain armies in Age of Sigmar. And that's probably the case with Stormcast. Like, I'm sure that they tell the game designers, Stormcast are our flagship army. We want them to be good. Make sure that they interact with these rule sets in a way that's positive. But then it's probably a step further than that, because we see so many instances of them having to go back and, like, errata things are worded and all, that they just don't have enough interaction between different rules writers. They have, like, a guy who's like, you write the Stormcast book, and you over there, you write the Khorne Bloodbound book. What they should have is interaction between the 2 of them. They don't do that.
Yeah, idealistically, it should have the kind of design team that Magic uses, where it, like, everybody designs everything, everybody cross tests everything.
Yep.
you know, everything has like 15 levels of development before it ever hits the market. Like there's some.
Oh gosh, just imagine how long it would take any releases to come out for GW if they did that.
I mean, if they actually staffed up their company properly,
Well,
it would not be an issue.
We're assuming all else stays the same.
Yeah, I mean, assume all else stays the same. Yeah, fine, but like, you know, like Wizards of the Coast has like their guys that like design D&D do Magic play testing like on their lunch hour, like that's just kind of how they roll. So I don't know.
Although I'm not sure that you should ever use Magic as a good example of something that's not wildly broken.
The problem with Magic being wildly broken, it has to do with like when the game first started being wildly broken. And at some point they kind of caught their stride. And if you play like, you know, if you play standard, if you play modern, if you play, you know, limited formats, like all of those are really well balanced most of the time. They rarely have to ban cards anymore. But you know, when the game was first released, it was not anticipated that it was going to have the sales volume that it did.
Right.
And so they intentionally did print cards that were outrageously good, because they didn't anticipate that people were going to collect like 4 copies of them, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's just interjecting on Magic sales real quick. I was at a store recently that we're talking about that used to pack them in for Magic, and there was 5 people playing there the other night. 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't
It
think
ebbs
there's
and
any-
flows though. Like if they hit like a couple of blocks in a row that are just not that appealing, they lose a lot of players.
Yep.
I don't think there's any stores locally that carry Magic that do like Friday Night Magics and stuff that don't have less than like 30, 40 people every time.
Yeah. You know, I was really surprised. There was a store up here that was running like Friday Night Magic, and they would have 2 Friday Night Magic events. Like they would have a Friday Night Magic draft and a Friday Night Magic standard.
Mm-hmm.
And between the 2, they would have over 50 people each week.
Yeah.
And even with that, they closed the store because they couldn't produce enough sales to justify keeping the store location open.
Yeah.
Because everything, like their mainstay players were being sustained almost entirely on store credit they were winning from like prize support. And then like they would draft and then they would just trade all of their cards back in from draft like to enter the next draft.
Yeah.
And
the problem is too, as you know, Paul, because you talked to me about it, is that most of these games, the companies do not give you, as the store owner, enough margin to really make much of a profit anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've got kind of like a video that I'm kind of pondering for a while, basically about, you know, why game stores fail and why yours will probably fail. And, you know, I feel like most of these shops have a very short shelf life unless they figure out some sort of business model that actually sustains them, or they have people that are owning and running it that are not actually supporting themselves financially off of it.
Right. I mean, there's one shop nearby that I go to that's literally called like Y2 Comics with a K, right, for a playoff Y2K, because they opened in 2000. And they're still going pretty strong. And like I shop there, and I still have access to like my old discount from running a store. So, I mean, it's not an insane discount, but it's significant comparatively. But I literally don't ever use it because I want them to stay open. Because for crying out loud, I've been going there playing tabletop games since 2000. Like they've offered me nearly 18 years of a place to play and a community to play with. And so I'm like, yeah, I'd rather spend a little bit more than go save on like, and actually have somewhere to play. But yeah, you're right. Like unless you have people willing to do that, then yeah, there's just not enough margin to support it.
Yeah. I think like the best business model that I have genuinely seen for like, your friendly local game store these days is they have, they run their mainstay as Magic. They use their storefront as a place to, get cards traded in for cheap. So they run a lot of draft events. They run a lot of sealed deck events. And they, if they pull in a lot of inventory from that, they can, basically take a dealer discount on the trade-ins. So they're giving them like half of what they would sell them for. And then they're turning around and selling all that inventory online. And they're using their dealer discounts to crack open boxes and sell all of that inventory online in the form of singles.
Yep.
So it's like a storefront that exists to facilitate an online operation.
Yep.
That's exactly. Yep. I was looking into doing that with Games Workshop, and such a model, having to flip everything on eBay, opening the store the whole time, just.
Yep. And it's harder to do with GW too, because it's not a random product. Like you buy exactly what you get. So the market value is very much set by the company. It's like, unless this is out of production model, like, Blood Knights box set goes for 100 retail, just to pick like the most absurd example. And, so it's like you buy it from GW for like typically 35% off. And then, you can discount it to try to be competitive with other online guys. Or you can buy something like a Magic set or Hero Clicks or any of these other like random sets and buy a big brick for like 50% of the original value. And then once you get like two of the super rares, whatever that particular game wants to call them, then you've basically recouped all that money and everything else is just profit. Yeah, it's harder to do with GW.
Yeah. I mean, GW, like, I think the way to go is to like the box sets that have like the steep discounts, like, like Blight War just came out, like all of the Start Collecting boxes, like get those at your dealer discount, crack them open, bits them out online.
I think honestly the only way to really do it with GW is to do ones like that have unique models that are in high demand, like Neve. Like it's stuff like that, because
like Blight War has like two highly in demand models that you cannot purchase in a blister at all.
Yep. Or the original Age of Sigmar starter set, because honestly the Start Collecting boxes, they're a significant discount, but still whenever you compare them, unless it's like some super highly sought after unit that comes in one, compared to the other like online prices on like eBay and stuff, you're making next to nothing. Like, I mean, when I had my shop in the that Betrayal at Calth starter set came out, which was for like 30K, like the Horus Heresy 30K 40K stuff, and it was like really popular because everyone wanted these 30K Space Marines, just to be competitive with the guys selling on eBay. Anything I sold on eBay on top of having my storefront, I was making like $8 on average a box.
Not a very good profit.
Yeah, it's nothing on a box that you're selling for like $100. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to move an absurd amount of profit or an absurd amount of product to actually make a profit on that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think the friendly local game store as we know it is a dying breed.
Yeah.
I think it is in terms of GW stuff. Like, GW cannot be your primary market. It just can't. You cannot move enough inventory at the price points if you're trying to be competitive with online sales, especially, to ever make enough to like hold a storefront open. You just can't.
Yep.
Completely agree. Did the homework. Not answers.
All right,
It's
gentlemen.
just, the numbers are just terrible.
I got to work in the morning, so I got to take off. So,
All right.
thank you for
Have a good night.
Yep.
See you later, sir.
I'll see you.
Have a good one, Merrick.
Yeah, I think a lot of these friendly local game stores, I think, are going to fold up very soon.
I think they will, unless they're diversified enough. Like, again, like I point to, again, like my favorite one, Y2K, and they're extremely diversified. Like they have a huge like comic selection, and I don't know what percentage of their sales that is, but it's a large amount. Like that's half their store, if not more. And then they've got like board games, and then they sell, all the GW games, the X-Wing, Magic, HeroClix, D&D, like Reaper models. Like they're super diversified, and I think it literally is going to take something like that where you're not only selling games and you're super diversified in your games to cover all the bases. And they have War Machine too. But like basically, you name it, they carry it. Like that's literally what it takes.
Yeah, there's a store like that in Greenfield, Massachusetts. It's like 45 minutes away, but now that I think about it, they've been around for 18 years, probably working on 19 now. Diversified.
Yeah. And then even with that, just thinking from a business point of view, right? Like you have to have a tremendous amount of inventory on your shelf to have that kind of store, which means you have massive amounts of upfront costs to buy all that inventory.
Exactly. That was the other thing. I was like, oof.
Yeah. Like, where do you get all that money from?
Well, if you're an older store, you got it as a bank loan because it was probably a little bit easier back then.
Yeah. Yep. And now it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck. You got to find some third-party investor that wants to throw money at you and hope you can finance your inventory with it.
Yep. I tried to start mine by kind of slow roll expanding. My plan was start with one or two product lines, sell them, keep my inventory relatively small, just basically reorder, put the profits towards expanding toward another line, so on and so forth. Probably would have worked actually, to be honest, because my costs were so low in terms of like rent and such. But I was pretty well connected for that. But yeah, I literally just had to like take savings and like downsize and all to try to start mine up.
Yeah.
No, it's tough.
Yep.
I looked into it. I was steps away from doing it, and I was like, you know what? My wife is not going to work here while I'm not working.
Yep.
I think this is gonna. I can't sit here and do my work and try and work a counter and run a store. There's no way I can quit my job and do this. Screw it.
Yeah. It seems like something that would work relatively well if you had the kind of money to invest in it that you didn't have to actually work there yourself, that you could have like a normal job on the side.
Yeah.
In that way, your profit margin didn't have to be big enough to actually support your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's basically what mine was. Like my wife was a assistant store manager for a Forever 21 clothing store, and so that was enough for us to cover life. And my store basically just roughly broke even each month, like all costs and everything considered. So, some months a little bit profitable, some months it wasn't, but it covered itself, and so that was doable until my wife got pregnant again. And because of our first pregnancy, she was an automatic high risk pregnancy, so she had to leave her job, and so I had to shut it down. But definitely, you're right. If you do have a second income coming in to where your business can not have to make a big profit, it is doable to start it up.
Yeah.
Or even be meager. Like part of your time you were painting and you were good enough to flip that stuff. That was another thought.
Yep, I did that too. I'd look for really cheap lots on eBay, repaint them, and then flip them.
Yep.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I had a few things I sold on eBay recently that like were models that I had painted, and they ended up, I like double checked them because I was like, wait, this seems really oddly high for this. Like it actually went for more than MSRP because they had a decent paint job on them.
Yeah,
I had
they were like generic enough that it would go with any army.
Yeah. I had an unfair advantage because I know, Paul, you know about it. And I assumed as that you're familiar with mini wargaming.
Yep.
I would put in all my sales that these were painted by a commissioned painter who had also painted for mini wargaming because I have, and that would help me flip them for higher prices.
I used to. I haven't visited there in a while, but I was am a moderator on Mini Wargaming and ran all the painting and conversion contests there for years.
Huh, that's pretty cool. I used to always watch their stuff, and then they got rid of most of my favorite content producers, and I didn't care much for the new hires, and so I canceled my subscription to their vault, and I was like, yeah, I don't even watch on YouTube anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, my big problem that I have is like their AOS content, and even their 8th edition content, like they're not running top tier armies and they're not playing them well.
And they're really, 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 really bad at rules.
Yeah.
Like I could forget. I'd be okay if you don't run top tier armies. Like play what you want, just be good at it, just know the rules. And look, I get that they play multiple games, every single one of them. I get that. And I get that you're going to make rules mistakes. That's forgivable, okay? But whenever you completely miss the core mechanics of your army, throw the entire game over and over and over. And I'm just like, up until recently, I played about 8 different tabletop games at the same time. And I know I didn't make half the mistakes in any of my games that they make in every single one of theirs. And I'm like, come on, I played more tabletop games than you. I played them less frequently. And I make less mistakes.
Yeah. It was really pretty unforgivable. It's really hard for me to watch the battle reports.
I don't. I just can't. I get like 2 minutes in and I'm like, no. Like, no. They're announcing the armies and they're like, this guy has this ability. I'm like, you're wrong already. Like, no, we're not doing it.
What I always find hilarious, though, is when they have, like the guest challengers come in to play people, and they occasionally have somebody that actually knows what they're doing and just like wrecks them, like completely tables them in like 2 turns.
It's still on my bucket list to do that.
Like I remember it was like way back, like early AOS. There was like, it was before General's Handbook 1 came out. It was a free people list challenger against like Seraphon.
Yep.
And the guy playing Seraphon clearly had not seen what free people can do in AOS yet. And basically the guy came in with like Karl Franz as his general and a shitload of knights and like 2 cannons and an engineer. And it was just like, he literally like dropped Karl Franz's ability on the knights to like add 1 attack to all of their melee weapons, and then just charged a wall of knights into his army and tabled him in 2 turns.
Yeah, that was Mini Wargaming Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like you guys didn't see this coming? Like you don't remember from 8th edition that you should avoid getting charged? Like
yeah.
That's one of my great disappointments, by the way, with the big change with the compendium getting dropped, is that free people, like I am like rising to the challenge of what they did with Free People, but it's like the army plays completely differently now. What I think was like objectively the best way to play it before, which was like playing lots and lots of cavalry.
Demi-griffs everywhere. Yep.
Yeah, like it's dead. It's gone. Like Demi-griffs went down 40 points, but the battalion that buffed them up to actually be good is gone.
Mate, you are speaking to the wrong person to have any sympathy. I'm like, if I wanted to play non-Tomb King's Death, I need to bring some Tomb Kings to be competitive. And it's no longer an option. And with the way they've changed, really with just that one change, Grand Alliance Death is not playable anymore as a Grand Alliance in any kind of competitive sense. So it's like, yeah, I've got to completely start from scratch too. That's why I'm going Soul Blight. Like it's 180 degrees different from everything I played because the bloodlines and all have completely changed Soul Blight. But
yeah,
I'm in the same boat.
Yep. And honestly, like one of the big motivating factors for me to going to Stormcast is that Stormcast in general is now the kind of army structure that attracted me to the old Empire in the first place. That it's like a combined arms force. It has cavalry, it has infantry, it has some shenanigans, it has some tanky stuff, it has some fast moving stuff. It's got some decent shooting. Like it's got a little bit of everything now. And
is it weird to say that in an army that is so fantastical, right? So fantasy based, that they more closely mirror a real world army than any of the other ones?
Yeah.
Because they have everything. They have heavy knights in the Liberators and stuff like that whenever you buff their defense. They have retributors, which are, again, are not dissimilar to other medieval warriors that, maybe like a knight carrying an axe or some other kind of like heavy pole arm. You have your horseback knights, and in this case for the Stormcast, that can be the concussors and the other Dracoth riders, or that can be the prosecutors as more of like your light skirmishing cavalry. It's like they more closely mirror in terms of roles they bring to the battlefield a historical army than anything else in AOS.
Yeah. And if you do the math on these units, like a unit of Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows, like their damage output is roughly equal to a cannon.
Yeah. Oh, I did the math. That's why
it happens to be in the form of infantry.
Yep.
Like the same thing with the Knight Venator. Like he's basically just a piece of artillery that happens to be on a hero.
Yeah, because the Stormcast don't bring vehicles; they just bring artillery, infantry. Yeah,
yeah. It like once all of that like really clicked for me, I'm like, yep, like this is the new hotness. This is the new thing that is like actually playable for me. Because when like Stormcast first released, it was like they were very one note. They did one thing. They did it pretty well. They marched slowly across the battlefield. They had high armor. They had, a couple of battalions that let them like deep strike and stuff like that. And they got like the Celestant Prime that could deep strike.
Yep.
But like as this army grows, it's like it's becoming more diverse. It's becoming more combined arms. And then if you look at like the more competitive side of things, like you have the ridiculous combo gimmicky stuff that can make you do really well in a tournament.
And the other part is they haven't even opened up all the chambers yet. So have 5 more chambers to open up?
Yeah. In that we even are in the fluff currently. Like, like obviously this is like the old world was like pretty static, right? Like it was static for like 20 years of Warhammer. Like even once all of the chambers are open, quote unquote, like they can just keep making new ones. like the story keeps advancing.
Yeah. Just expand the chambers that already exist. Like you don't even have to make new ones. Just say you have your Dracoth rider and your other like cavalry chamber, and then suddenly there's a new Dracoth dragony unit in that one.
Yep.
Would it be fair to say, Paul, that the real reason these guys are attractive to you is because they're old school Free People Empire, just in a slightly different package visually, yes. But they're playing the same. They're the same army.
Yep, they are. Well, with the exception of all of the deep strike shenanigans.
Right. I mean, that's a crossover from Space Marine, but yeah.
But I mean, like they are the same thing with, elite units instead of horde infantry, right. And more movement shenanigans. Otherwise, it's basically the same thing in a different package.
Right, but I'm including Bretonia in that. Like I'm including Fantasy Bretonia in that because they had movement shenanigans too. And we see these new guys like the Chocobo Riders and
I forget
Hunter dude. Yeah, and with their whole like ride the winds ethereal or whatever it is, like that's just the new Pegasus Knights. That's all that is.
Yeah, I mean I would be very curious to see, like, I haven't really examined those units that closely yet, or their scrolls or the battalions for them. Yeah, I would not be surprised if you put things together with those if they are not completely broken because of how insanely mobile they are.
I've been looking at them, and there's some shenanigans to be unlocked there for sure.
I mean, even if you discard the shenanigans and you just compare them to the rest of their sub-faction, their Stormcast, right? Like for their points, they are so drastically better than everything that's comparable to them that it's not even funny. Like if you compare them to the Dracoth riders, they're significantly cheaper. They're a little bit less defensively powerful, but their ability to skirmish is so much better. Their in-close offensive output is pretty much better than everything but a concussor. And then you add in their movement shenanigans, which you're like, okay, so we ignore the movement shenanigans to compare all that. Then you just say, oh, and they have movement shenanigans. They're basically the new Peg Knights in terms of their movement. And you're like, okay, like, why did I even buy these Dracoth riders other than the fact they look cool?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Dracoth riders are more the slow, lumbering cavalry that are very tough and like they're going to hit hard, but they're fast, but not that fast. I see them almost as like they're like movement 10 retributors. Like they're not like, I don't know, like they're not that about their movement. They're about like getting into combat and sticking and doing a lot of damage. They're not about like the hit and run tactics and the mobility and all of that stuff. Like they're
go do the math, Paul, and you'll see that they're because you love doing the math. So like I'm serious about this. Like go do the math and just look at their damage output versus all the Chocobo riders, and it's not significantly different. Like the Chocobo riders put out so much damage that anything other than a concussor, you're just like the damage difference is negligible. And a concussor,
and the concussor is which one is a concussor?
They're literally the mounted retributors.
They're the ones that
got it.
When you hit the unit and they hit or wound or whatever, that unit can't do anything, can't move.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I mean, like I know the fulminators are like the hotness because it's like, oh, on the charge, they're really good, and I'm like, yeah, on the charge, and every turn after that, they're dead, or they got countercharged. Yeah.
The problem that I immediately saw with those was that they have, a really significant charge bonus for, for their attacks. They're doing 3 damage instead of 1 on the charge, but they have no movement bonus to get them more likely to get the charge.
And then what happens whenever they don't instantly kill what they charge?
Yeah, then if they rubber lance, they're screwed.
But let's not even say that they rubber lance. Let's say they do what they're supposed to do and they inflict damage. They just don't kill it. They wound it. They just don't kill it. Then they're dead. Yeah. That's why I only even consider the concussors. But now that the Chocobo Riders are out, I'm like, I have 2 of them. I will never field them because the Chocobo Riders are so much cheaper. Damage-wise, they're so close to being able to consistently, for similar probability-wise, inflict almost the same damage, and are so much faster. Basically, just teleport across the battlefield. It's not even a fair competition.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they can just do a 6d6 move.
Yes.
Like, it's like, hold on, let me roll this fistful of dice and move across the board.
Yeah.
And then like that ability to just like swoop off the board and teleport to any board edge on your next movement phase, like
And I know it's not your favorite, Paul, but just add on top of that if you want, so you can deep strike them. It's like, what movement can they not do?
Yeah. I mean, I actually did not read Vince's like full response to my video on the Stormcast Allegiance, because he was like saying something contrary to what I had said about like how the Stormcast battle trait is actually complete garbage because all of the other the plethora of other abilities that do that same thing without requiring you to roll dice and give you choice of when it happens. Like, therefore, this is garbage and nobody should ever use it. And like, that's just another example of like, you don't need that ability. Like, they basically, to me, the Stormcast basically just don't have a battle trait.
I don't know if it could be.
I've used it, and it's never done poorly for me. Like, I mean, I understand that like mathematically it should be good 66% of the time, and obviously 33% is a decent chance of it failing. But I mean, it's always done mathematically what it should do in every game for me, and it's been useful. Like, I'm not going to say, huh?
And that's understandable. Like, I would expect for it to mathematically do what it's supposed to do. It's just that like, you don't have a choice of what does what when mathematically.
Right.
It's not like you roll for each unit that's in the Celestial Realm, and that gives you a number of units from the Celestial Realm that you get to deep strike.
Right.
Like, even like that nuance to that rule would have made it completely different.
I think that really just whenever you're doing it, the biggest thing you have to take into account is this may be the only unit I place on the table this turn. And if you approach it with that mindset, if you really build it out and you say, I start with these units that don't need support, like for what I'm going to have them do, and then you build from there, it's not bad. Like, that's how I've always done it. I'm like, okay, if nothing else happens this turn and only this guy comes in, he'll be okay this turn. Next turn, he might be screwed, but this turn, he'll be okay. Okay, he got there. Okay, next, I'm going to bring in the guy that buffs him.
Yeah.
Next, you chain it out. But unless you look at it that way, I agree. It's not great unless you truly plan out your succession and build off of that.
Yeah. When I saw like firsthand watching games getting played with it, like, I saw one of the guys in our local play group, he's starting out playing Stormcast. He's not like really min-maxing it. So he was just like experimenting with the ability, and he put like a Star Drake in the Celestial Realm using that ability. And like, I was watching a game and it was turn 3 and that Star Drake was still in the Celestial Realm.
Right.
I think that is pretty strong evidence that ability is not that good. Like, it can easily screw you.
It can, but it can also easily help you. Like in my game that I was talking about with the 6 objectives, I deep striked in a unit of prosecutors 9 inches away from the opponent, and I was running that hammer strike, brotherhood, or whatever it is, where you run the 2 units of retributors with them. And then because of that, I immediately deep strike for free because of that battalion. The 2 retributor units within combat range blew up his entire force that was surrounding his objective, killed it turn 1. So like, it is unreliable, And when it doesn't work, it's really bad. And when it does work, it's really, really good. But that's only if you're going to put yourself in a position to be vulnerable to that. Like, I mean, I think it's a mistake to ever try to run that with your whole army, right? Like, you basically need to deploy half your army or something like that, and then have elements of your army that you're like, well, if these don't show up for a while, I can live, but I'll just be playing suboptimally.
Yeah. And I think in general, I think it's a fine ability to play casually. I think it's a really terrible ability to play in a highly competitive environment because there's too much risk involved.
There's a lot of risk, that's for sure.
And like, when you have, you know, like the Hammer Strike Brotherhood, when you have the Vanguard Wing, when you have the Lord Vexilor, when you have, you know, there's other battalions that do deep strikey things. There's so many different things that you can do that give you crazy movement shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you ever risk rolling the dice in like putting things in the Celestial Realm? Like, even if we just like back this up and say we're going to take the same sort of like roll the dice component, but we're going to use it as the prayer instead. So at least my unit's deployed and on the battlefield, and it's just a question of, will I get to teleport it where I want it to go this turn?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Anywho, I think I need to actually get headed to bed. It's like 1 a.m. here.
Yeah.
And I like to sleep once in a while.
Yeah. I'll be back up at about 4:30 because I'm just trying to be accustomed to basic time whenever I'm going to be waking up every day at about that time anyways.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, I will talk to you later. It's been fun.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you for this, Paul. I appreciate it. Good
Yeah, no problem, man. And hope anybody watching this has enjoyed themselves, learned some things, you know, got some models painted, fight the war against the gray. I've been fighting the war to create the gray.
If you're using Plastruck, make sure you screw the cap on, or you're going to melt your keyboard.
I did manage to get through constructing all of the models that I have that have come in apart from one last unit of Vanguard Raptors.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so, and then I've got another box of Judicators on the way, and then I think that's it. I think, and another unit of Prosecutors.
I've gotten about 60% done with the base coats on this model, and probably about 2/3 of the way done in total with this chick's hair. So I'd say that's pretty good progress for me. I'm pretty slow.
Yeah. Yeah, this army is going to get a lot of speed painting done on it. That is for sure. I think, I think a spray can of Retributor Gold is in my future.
Yep. That's what I kept thinking about, and I went out and I figured for the half the cost, get a new airbrush. So I just bought a new airbrush.
All right, guys. Anyway, I'm going to shut it down. Have a good night.
All right.
Have a good night.
Later.